All right, let's see what we got going on here. So apparently this stupid thing reset itself and now I can't stream to YouTube at the same time, so that's fun. Might have to mess with that later to get that reworking. That's super annoying. Super annoying that they and it's funny, some bit got set inside of Streamlabs. I should just not use the Streamlabs OBS, but anyways, the Streamlabs desktop type thing, something got reset, so this thing wants to, every time I turn it on, it wants to go through the process of setting itself up again, and I'm just like, ugh. It's enough to make me just pull the whole thing out and reinstall it. But less than T, yeah, I don't normally stream on Saturdays, but I figured I'd get on today. I got most of the stuff I needed to done as far as the group, so I figured I'd hop on. And some people want a little bit of a, like, you know, what are we talking about today? And I think that that'll be fun for people that manage to get here before the Linux group later. Because we're going to meet, we meet on Saturdays, right? For people that haven't been here. We meet on Saturdays and we work through this process of Linux Systems Administration. And let me pull this up for you guys real quick. Here's our Discord. And we've got a meeting which currently says there's 171 people coming. We had 90 the first week and we had about 50 last week. So hopefully we get up around this again. But yeah, and then after we're done with it, we record it as well. So I've recorded weeks 1 and 2. Those are up on YouTube. Again, right now, YouTube's not working because Streamlabs is being stupid. I was telling the guys, I was thinking about going to OBS or something because this is enough to make me want to jump over to OBS and just do that myself instead of dealing with this crap, you know. Yeah, Razushi, I think it's worth it. But, you know, if you just catch it later, that's fine too. So I don't have anything major planned right now. I just thought maybe I'd give like a quick walkthrough of what we're going over today in the group and in the class. We won't go through all the material now, but we'll talk a little bit about it and maybe see some of the stuff. Maybe I'll update this. So I've got the presentation here for Linux Systems Administration, the 28th, right? And then I've got, you know, we're in our third meeting. If we have any reschedules or announcements, I'd put them here. And then we talk about last week's stuff for a little bit, go through the material. Then we go through this week's stuff and talk about that a little bit. And then we get into what we're going to talk about for the week, right? And then I walk through some of the topics and some of the things, and then administration tasks and what those kind of look like, and how we work with management, and then some of the lab stuff, right? So that's kind of the flow of what we're doing, right? But I think about it, and what I might want to do is draw out... maybe I can just slap together an Excalidraw here or something on what this is going to kind of look like a little bit. Oh, let me put this back up. Hold on. So you guys can see what I'm talking about. Hold on. Let's come back over here. Let's pull that up. Let's pull our log sec up for notes. A lot of people ask like what I use for my closed captioning. Closed captioning is all done here through PowerPoint. So that's kind of actually funny. And then the tool here for capturing logs and things that I want to write out is logsec, LOGSEQ. And then I also have Excalidraw over here. But, I mean, it occurs to me I could just draw this inside of logsec as well. So, maybe... Yeah, I don't know. We'll see what we do. But I kind of want to just go here and just make a whole new thing. Hey, Robodom, how's it going? We are just messing around a little bit. You know what? Actually, I can turn myself on here. We're just messing around a little bit. Fucking Streamlabs is in this weird state right now where it's wiping every time I turn it off and turn it back on. Streamlabs just goes back into its setup mode. It doesn't matter what I set on it or whatever. So I'm going to try to get, like, I'm not streaming on YouTube right now because I can't do both. I could turn this off and I'm pretty sure I can get that working again. But there's a weird thing in it where even if you connect, I don't know, they got some weird stuff in there. I was saying earlier, like, I'm kind of thinking about just popping over to OBS and saying fuck you to Streamlabs. Because, like, Streamlabs, to even do the multi-streaming, I want to say is like $7 or $8 a month anyways. So it's like, I can just do that for free over in OBS. And I'm pretty sure I could figure out OBS to make it look like this. All we're doing is sharing a screen and a video. You know, everything else, well, and then the little thing, the ticker across the bottom is pretty easy to do too, I think. Oh, by the way, we hit 2,800 members, so I should update that. Hold on, let me go update our little ticker here. Notepad. You guys ever wonder how I do the ticker across the bottom? See that little thing that's just kind of going across the bottom of the screen there? It's right in here. You just make a little ticker info. Super easy to do. And then let's say 2,800 engineers now. And then when we hit save, it'll automatically update. Yep. And then I just keep this over here out of the way. Yeah, Alchemist. I've used the closed captioning for a while. People are always asking me like, what's that closed captioning you're using? And I'm like, it's just you go inside a PowerPoint, right? This is it right here. You go inside a PowerPoint, and when you first get into PowerPoint, you've got to be in presentation mode. So you got to drop into presentation mode, and then it's this right here. It's this little button down here, so you're looking at all your stuff, and this will drop you into presentation mode with closed captioning. And then now, like, this works pretty good for me. I mean, I have multiple monitors, so I can put stuff that's out of the way. And then the only thing that's kind of annoying, and some of you guys have seen me do it, is that I can't maximize screens. I always just leave a screen with a little bit of space at the bottom. Yeah, like, that's all it is, like closed captioning inside of PowerPoint, and it works pretty good. And I told you guys, it doesn't let me swear. Like, if I do swear, it doesn't catch it. And I was showing you guys, this is kind of funny to me. I can say God, and I can say damn. I cannot say goddamn. What's this Whisper CPP? Is that like a site? Hold on. Whisper, is that open source? Speech to text. Okay. And then do you use that? Probably this or one of these other ones. Yeah. See, so I actually need to... There's a project I'm working on from work. So we've been doing this big deployment thing, me and my company. We do big deployments all the time, but we've been doing this new deployment, this new type of way. And what we wanted to do was, and I know how to do it inside of AWS, so trust me, guys, we could do this in AWS for, maybe 30 cents an hour or something. But what we have is, as we've been working through this project, we've been recording everything in our Zoom sessions, right? So we drop into Zoom and we'll do like some focus time in on working on some part of this build out we've been doing. And then we have like hundreds of hours of like all of our work. And I was telling my boss, I was like, well, we've been keeping track of stuff in Confluence and kind of like project docs that we've been building. But I told my boss, I was like, we could take all of that and for $30 up in AWS, just throw all of our recordings. Just we only need the voice part of it. We don't need the whole video, and we can just squish it down into text. I said, we don't talk that much really. Humans, we don't really talk that much in 3 hours that it wouldn't just be a few kilobytes of text really. Maybe you get to a meg, but probably not even. Of like, a bunch of humans talking to each other. And I told him, I was like, we could take our notes like that, and then we could squeeze out what we were doing. So this actually might be kind of interesting. But yeah, we could do it in AWS if we wanted as well. So, hey, how's it going, guys? People are showing up a little late. We just got on. I'm having problems with this damn tool and AWS YouTube. So, Streamlabs might be out here soon, and I might just be going straight OBS because it wouldn't be that big of a deal. But anyways, yeah. So then I'll just feed everything up into an S3 bucket and then just give us all the transcripts. And then transcripts are highly searchable. Like, we want to search about this one thing that we did in Werewolf this one time, and we could go find where we were talking about it and pull out maybe the pertinent things about it. Also, I'm going to have it timestamp everything so that if we do need to go back to the video, because it's like, oh, hey, here's what I'm showing you, and then we're like, oh, shoot, what the heck is that? We'll have it timestamped to the video. So I think that'll also be kind of useful too. ICQ, you're gonna vanish again? That doesn't sound good. Yeah, yeah. By the way, guys, we are running the Linux group later, so people that are interested, we've got a free Linux System Administration group, and I don't feel like I was thinking about. I'm like, I'm not giving anything away. We have 171 people. I'm not giving anything away by popping on here and telling you guys because I've already posted all the work up here. So all the work is already up here in the Discord, and the 2 discussion posts are already up there. So like me talking about the fact that we're going to be doing operations today and looking at triaging, I am not like, doing some faux pas where I tell some of you guys early and other ones don't get to know about it. There's so much information in here. Yeah, ICQ, that's not good. Yeah, if things are troubling you that much, for me, man, I'll just let shit go, man. Something doesn't work, I'll go try a different tool. I don't let anything like that bug me. But it is weird when things are breaking other stuff. That's always a problem. But anyway, so these are all up there. This week we're talking about LVM and RAID, and you're going to be doing that in the lab if you want to. And then the worksheet is going to have you focusing on some stuff. And then if you don't want to do the worksheet or you don't want to download this stuff, you can just do the raw text right here. So there's raw text as well for most of the stuff. And then the discussions are about, what does triage mean? Have you ever had to triage something? If you don't know what that means, here's some good places to show you what it means to triage things. And triage just means if I have like 3 things to work on, how do I put them in order? That's all it is. It tends to mean, so you guys know, it tends to mean in like a medical sense of like who's going to die first. Well, this person right here is definitely going to die if they don't start breathing in the next 3 seconds. And then that person's going to die if they don't stop bleeding all their blood out next. And then that person over there with his spleen pretty jacked up, he might die in a few hours, but let's get these 2 guys that are emergency cases first. Does that kind of make sense? It's the same idea like if you ever go into an ER, if you're still bleeding, they get you in first. So that's one of those little, they have tricks on how to like get through an ER faster. I'm not going to tell you all those, but you can go look those up on the internet, right? There's a whole bunch of those things. But the point is like triage. How do we know who is the most likely to die next, right? And that's a very important thing because we're going to talk about this week how we get trouble tickets in. There's different ways that we find out in systems administration what's busted in our network. I bleed all over my keyboard. Yeah, you guys ever seen that the little GIF video where the guy just beats his head on his keyboard? He's like this little cartoon character. He's sitting there typing and then he types his hands off and then he just starts beating his head on the keyboard. That's me sometimes at work. But then we talk about operational security and what's important about when we're dealing with an incident, how we still keep, because just because there's an emergency does not mean security goes out the door. Like we're not just posting stuff on, social media sites about what's going on. We're keeping the response to an incident tight and only responding up to the people that should know about it, right? So there's a lot of stuff to read about and understand that are kind of like I don't necessarily like using the term soft skills of engineering, but it's like engineering doesn't happen in a vacuum. I don't get to just go build the fastest thing all the time. I have to build what is necessary for the business. And for the business has processes that make money, and my job is to keep those processes running or keep the platforms that those processes are on running first. Triage came from military system assessing the wounded and battlefield. Yeah, I think nurses have been triaging people for a long time as well. But yeah, a lot of us think of it like I learned about it from being a combat infantryman, like triage what's going to kill somebody first, and then go to that. Also, it's funny learning the medical side of how to help your friend survive is also useful as an infantryman because there's only 2 things an infantryman's trying to do: kill people and break stuff, right? So it's an interesting thing, right? It's an interesting dichotomy there of like how we look at life, right? Specifically trying to end it. So anyways, the thing here about projects is we've got these things up, and then the next one I say go to Google, find a blog, ask an AI about high availability. What are the terms that happen within high availability? What are some important terms about it? What do you think understanding will help you in the context of triaging things? So I'm asking you this question that kind of makes you think about what is high availability and how it works, and then how does that tie into triage? Because if you think about it, if I have a set of servers, I have 3 servers come in with tickets as being down, and I know 2 of those servers are behind a load balancer. They're web servers in a cluster of like 10 web servers. And I know 2 of them are down, right? And there's no indication more are going down, but 2 of them are down. And then I also have a like a prod SQL server that's down, like a database server that multiple systems are connecting into. My triage there might be, well, these 2 systems are part of a larger cluster, and that's not taking public-facing downtime, customer prod downtime. But this SQL box that's down is directly affecting all these other operations, and very quickly I might triage the systems behind the high availability. I want to figure it out. I want to get them up, but that's not as big a deal as getting this other system up. You should write a load balance on stream and see. Yeah. I don't do any of that stuff, Mr. Couture. I don't. I mean, I can code some C and compile like the most basic little 1-page thing, but I don't. Some of you guys know I'm not a programmer. That's not what I do. Can I do it? Yeah, but I feel dirty, and I don't do it professionally. So, like I'll write stuff. I've never written professional C code. The only professional code I've ever written, if we're being honest, is Bash, Perl, and those were interpreted scripts, obviously, and then JavaScript. Those are the only professional things I've ever done. Yeah. So, just so you know. Also, yeah, Robodom's letting you guys know about our YouTube. Our YouTube's not up right now because this effing thing, it's in like this reset cycle. I've never seen this. I've seen this in software before in my life, but not recently, and it's weird. Like if I were to close down Streamlabs right now and reopen it, it would try to set itself back up again. And I'm like, you've been set up 4 times today, buddy. What the hell? And it wasn't happening yesterday. This was fine yesterday. So I might rip Streamlabs completely out of my computer before. Well, later on today we're gonna meet on Discord, right? So this is all Discord, and hanging out in our 16-week course later. That's gonna be on Discord, and then yeah, we'll kind of go from there. All right. So what am I working on here then now? We've got, what's that OpenAI stuff? Or Whisper. All right. So Excalidraw. I thought about kind of drawing out a little bit the logical volume management stuff that I'm going to need for later. So let's back this out. What are we going to do here? Let's just etch out my thoughts here for a second, right? We'll worry about making this nice later, right? Also for now, we could just leave that up there. It doesn't matter. We'll just leave that up there for now. Whoops. Out of the way. All right. So we come over here and we say LVM. Right? So you've got logical volume management over here. And before you get to logical volume management, you've just got over here some raw disks, right? And raw disks kind of look something like this in a system. Oops. Also, it's interesting. You can go find symbols. You can go download symbols on... But generally speaking, we kind of think of raw disks looking something like this, right? So over here will be... And raw disks get loaded up. So maybe we've got a few of these little raw disks over here. Raw disks get loaded up into our system here. So they get loaded into by PV create. So loaded into LVM with PV create, right? And once you do that, now they exist over here as physical volumes. And we're going to do this in the lab for everybody. Yeah. Well, I mean, you know what? Even when you're using something else like that, you still kind of end up thinking about them in somewhat the same sense. So now we got physical volumes, and they get what happens with them? They get aggregated up into volume groups. So volume groups. So physical volumes, volume groups. And this is, actually, you know what? We're going to use this. We'll do the same thing and we'll say aggregated. Through a tool called VG Create. So physical volumes get aggregated down. And we'll put these like this. All right, and then whoops, and then you've got your volume groups here. I don't know. I'll move this around later, guys. I'm just kind of etching out my thoughts for now, right? My thoughts are sometimes somewhat jumbled, but they hold. Everything's moving around. Yeah, physical volumes aggregated into volume groups. I feel like everything just got pulled down, doesn't? Anyways, it doesn't matter. And the page memory management, we need that. Yeah. Okay, so volume groups, and then so now volume groups. Whoops. Will be. You know, a volume group will be these disks put together. I think I can group those too. But anyways, this down here, and this will be, you know, some volume group. Let's just say like VG1 or something like that. Maybe that'll be a bunch of dotted lines or something. And then this will be like VG1. Maybe, I don't know. So you got your physical machine or your physical disks, and then they become volume groups, and then the volume group gets a name as well. And when we're doing this, we're actually going to be looking at them in a system, right? We're going to be over here inside of like, go to Rocky 10, one of our boxes in here, and we do PVS, VGS, LVS, and we don't see anything. There's no logical volume management happening here. But if we do an fdisk-l grep-i for XVD, we see all these extra raw disks. I made sure that we had all these I made sure that we had all these disks available, right? So we go right here, and we've got these extra disks being used, not being used, and nothing is in physical volume space. So I can just say, well, I want to use B, C, and E. So XVD, XVB, and XVC. So watch this real quick. I say PV create, and again, they're just raw disks over there on the left. And I say dev XVDB, dev XVDC, and then dev XVDE for this. And now when I do a PVS, I see those disks. Those disks have been added. Yeah, head's cooking today. Yeah, tomorrow. What I was saying is I've pretty much done, like I've got the Linux Systems Administration stuff done for today for what we're going to talk about. But then I was thinking about it. I'm like, maybe I'll add some drawings. Maybe I'll add a little bit more stuff. And we were just talking about that a little bit. So that's where we're at right now. We're not working too super hard. Also, my stupid, like, you can't fix Streamlabs when you're in it. Like when I'm streaming, I can't fix it. So now I'm just basically waiting until later to probably rip Streamlabs completely out of my system. And I might just start doing it in OBS from now on, because this is just pissing me off at a level that's not, like, I don't need it, right? Like I don't need that frustration. All right. So anyway, so we got this. We've got this part up, and then we're gonna take all those and we're gonna do a VG create. And we're going to say I want to make a VG1, like I said right there. And then I'm going to use dev XVDB and maybe dev XVDC. And I'm going to put those in. And now when I do a VGS, I'm going to see those two devices. But I forgot I needed E, right? I need dev XVDE. Or later on, the requirements change and they need, 600 more gigs. And by the way, your company will a lot of times have a standard for how big of a disk they'll attach to a virtual machine. There's a lot of reasons for it, but one of the reasons is to minimize VM sprawl. And VM sprawl can happen both at the system level, but also at the disk level. People will ask for, oh, guys, I really need these 15 terabytes attached. And you're like, you need fucking 15 terabytes attached to your system? And you don't want it as an NAS. You want it physically attached like a disk. And they're like, it's what the vendor wants. It's what we need. And you're like, and then you go check on that system a few weeks later, and it's like, they've got it all up and running, and it's like using like 300 gigs. And you're like, because it's very hard to get stuff back, guys. This is always true in the systems world. When you build something and you push it out, it's iron grip going out, but it is like impossible to get it back, right? It is very hard to get things back. So anyways, where I'm going with this is I need to extend this now. So VG extend over, and it'll be VG1 over dev XVDE. So now it's almost like I'm taking, I've got the two disks in that I added, XVDB and XVDC, and I put a volume group over it. But now I want to put E in there, so I'm going to pull it over the top of that and extend it over that. And now when I do a VGS, you'll see that it's bigger because it's got that extra disk involved in it. Now I'm showing you guys with PVS, VGS, and LVS because it's real short, nice output. If you were like, Scott, I need to know more, like I'm having some kind of deep problem, I need to troubleshoot this. That's when you would do PV display. And this will dig in, and VG display will dig into what's going on inside of there. Can I make the terminal font big? Oh, yeah. Hold on. I can do that. I feel like it's pretty big, but I will make it bigger. Hold on. 18. Hold on. Is that better? Hold on. I gotta shrink the terminal down now. But is that a little easier to read for you guys? Is that better? Somebody give me a thumbs up or a do all the Linux or something like that. Let me know. Let me know if that's better. That's what I went to like 18 or something. Is that better? Fair enough. Hold on. We'll go bigger. Hold on. I wasn't gonna get obnoxious, but we'll go to 20. 20 is somewhere between, I think, acceptable and obnoxious. Is that big enough? I think that's fair. So I'm gonna clear the screen though real quick. PVS, VGS, LVS, really small, very compact, easy to kind of see, and then with PV display, it's going to give you a lot of information. Well, Razushi, they will be there if you have logical volume management installed. If you have logical volume management installed, you will have all of these commands, yes. So look, PV display is just, it's a little more and a little deeper information about how the system sees those pieces. So think of it, I always think of it, I tell you guys, this is a big engineering thing. If I told Robodom right now, hey, go get everybody ice cream, and I tossed him the keys to my truck, if he starts my truck, he's just going to drive off and go get ice cream. But if he goes to start my truck and it breaks, then he's going to be like, well, it's going, so maybe I'll go open up the engine and make sure that the engine is engineing, right? And then we look at it and we go, well, we know that part of it is when it's starting. So the starting operations are either the battery or the starter, typically. And then we go and we say, well, when he tries to start it a few times, it goes less and less of that, or it's probably not, or it probably is the battery then. And then we say, well, shoot, we can give it a jump, and then see if it'll start later, because then. But if we jump it now and we get it running, and then it still kind of dies, it's probably some kind of alternator problem, because the alternator is what charges the battery and runs the vehicle in operation, right? I don't know how much you guys deal with cars and stuff. I'm sure this is all old knowledge nowadays. I haven't worked on a vehicle in many years, but when I used to build S10s out a lot, that was part of it, right? That's something I used to do when I was younger. I just always had a thing for S10s. Like, I even have a Colorado nowadays because I like them. But yeah, well, but so now what we do is we carve. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to say we carve out logical volumes from volume groups. Guys, I mean, I hate to, as a bigger guy, say, so it's LV create or LV extend. I hate to say it's almost like you're making a cake. Like the physical volumes are the layers. Anybody here ever like watch their mom or watch their grandma or something take like individual pieces of a cake, and then they've got these layers and they're putting frosting on it, and then when it's all done and it's all frosted, it's just one cake. Well, each of the layers is like the physical volumes. And then it's becoming a volume group like this. And that's just, a volume group is one big cake. But then I want to give you a slice and you a slice, so I'm going to carve out from the volume groups down just, yeah, now I'm confused and hungry. Now I'm going to carve down from this bigger volume group that we have the things that I'm going to give each of you as resources. So in this lab, let's say, let's just look at what we did real quick. We took 3 disks. We gave them to Logical Volume Management. They weren't owned by Logical Volume Management before. Now we're going to do our VGS, and we're going to see that we have aggregated them up and put the frosting over them. So now they're one volume group. And now we're going to carve that volume group down into, let's say Robodom's been really good. So I'm going to give him, look, we've got 9 gigs. I'm going to give Robodom a 5 gig slice of this. I'm going to take like a big old chop out of that cake and give it to Robodom, right? So it's going to look like this. We're going to say, of that, I'm going to say LV create, and I'm going to give that logical volume a name. And the name, and you could do this in a whole bunch of different ways. The name is going to be, let's just say, space in my lab. And I think that needs to go at the end. We'll put that over here. And we're going to say from VG1, so logical volume create VG1, and we're going to give it the size of 5G. I think that's all right. And then we'll give it the namespace. Now, when we did that, I wasn't sure that was going to work because I haven't done this in a while. But I've got this in the lab. Now, watch. I'm going to do my PVS, same. VGS, same. But now you see some used. You see only some of the cake is left because we've allocated some of the cake. And then when we do LVS, we'll see now we've got this logical volume of space that's 5 gigs from the volume group 1. So I took this big piece of cake and I want to go give it to Robodom. But before I give it to Robodom and he can use it, let's say, he's got to have some formatting to it. It's got to be on a plate. It's got to have a fork. It's got to have, whatever he needs for this to work, right? So we're just making, right now we've only made a device. Now we've got to put a file system on that device. And we're going to say like make, we'll just say make fs. I hope I have this on here. And then now here's the types of file systems I can give. The only types of file systems that you're probably going to do are going to be XFS or ext4 in most modern systems. You may mess with some of these other ones in your career, but probably not much. I would say 99% of the time, if you're doing systems administration work for sure, you're going to be adding either an ext4 or an XFS. Now, you might say, well, Scott, how would I know? And I said, Btrfs is fine, but df-h would show me if anything is mounted already. And these are all tempfs, so it's really dealer's choice. There's nothing on here that's any of these other things. ZFS is around. I wouldn't say ZFS is getting bigger because I would say ZFS was huge when we used it in Solaris days, but only on the Unix side. I don't think ZFS is last I read, and this could be wrong. I could just be buying into the hype. But I heard it from, there was a Linus Torvalds post a couple years back that ZFS was never going to be integrated into the Linux kernel. Now, I don't know if that's true. You can go look that up or whatever, but I don't know if ZFS is getting more adopted. But even if it is, it's not they're not doing kernel level support for it. So it'll always be kind of an outsider, if that's true. I don't know if that's still true. I don't know if he's changed his stance on that, but I have read that from his own words that they weren't going to support that. Yeah, that makes sense. Like if there's a GPL license problem, because you guys got to understand. Do you know why we're on GPL 3 right now? Because 1 and 2 got their asses kicked in court. If you guys don't know, you can go look up. And I remember when 2 got their ass kicked because I was part of Linux culture when that happened, and 2 got mostly wrecked by TiVo. If you guys remember TiVo, they used to send you these boxes, and then you could do, it was DVR before DVR was integrated with everything, and TiVo was, dude, we hacked one of my boss's boxes. One of the first projects I ever did back in like 2000. This was like 2004. He and I were sitting there working on his little TiVo box, and all we did was we got into it. We figured out how to get into it. We reset the password, and then we turned on an FTP server, so all the things that he downloaded we could pull off. That's all it was. I call it hacking, but it was, we just got into a system we weren't supposed to. Vitaloid, hopefully this stuff's useful to you, right? Like our goal here is to get people doing this stuff professionally. I'm just messing around right now because Streamlabs is all jacked up, and I can't even be over on YouTube right now. But yeah, hopefully this stuff's useful to you. To Bread said, FSX is hosted NFS based on ZFS. Yeah. They also have an FSX that's under the hood is Lustre as well. I don't know if you know that or if you've played with that at all. But I grew up, I cut my teeth in Linux early on with Lustre. I connected Lustre early on to a whole bunch of government systems, and I got a lot of background in that. I still show people Lustre. I still train people on it with my company Redline. Like they pay money to train with that. No, Lustre is different. No, Lustre is it's a true distributed file system, whereas ZFS is internal still. Lustre is for lack of better terms, I can show you real quick. So you go to Open SFS, right? Open SFS. So what happened? Here's the history of Lustre. Lustre was being maintained by Sun Microsystems. Sun Microsystems got bought by Oracle. Oracle said, "Ooh, brother, what is that?" And it chucked it out to the community. Said, "We don't want this Lustre stuff." And I was using it back then, and I was using it for government projects, and then we had to go and run it. So anyways, what is OpenSFS? That's terrifying. Here's their resources. You want to go to like the Lustre wiki, so I'll link this to you guys that want it. Oh yeah, I don't have to do it on YouTube. Fucking YouTube's not. It's not YouTube's fault. It's Streamlabs' fault. But so anyways, here's Lustre architecture, and you can go see, like, what is Lustre? Oh, it's a super fast, highly parallelized file system where what happens, and we won't go into this too much, but I'll show you guys because, again, I've been doing this for a long time. You connect the clients into Lustre by registering them with their MGT, right? So this is their, you've got the metadata servers and the, so anyways, the management servers you register in, right? Once you do that, then there's these metadata servers, and the metadata servers, which can be back-ended for as many of things as you want, is like the card catalog at a library, or if you want to think of it in your own system, it's like the inode management of a file system. And all your clients, let's say your client wants to go pull a 10 terabyte file out of this Lustre system. They want to go pull some big satellite data down, right? Or they want to pull down a whole like workflow of like NOAA for the last 6 hours. NOAA is the National Oceanographic Atmospheric Agency, and they want to pull everything down, and that's spread across this file system all over the place. It's all these books and tomes on different shelves all over the place. Well, you'll check out over here with the metadata target, hey, where is it all at? And it'll give you all the information, and then you'll say, okay, that's fine. That's probably a high speed like InfiniBand network, you know, and it's operating at like 200 gigs per second or something, or you know, whatever it is. But this is where it gets fast. Your device never talks over here on the left again, not once. Everything he does, it's almost like you took a list from the card catalog. If any of you remember this back in the day, you would take a list and then you'd go walk to all the books and all the shelves you needed, and you'd get all your resources from the library. That's how we used to do it when I was a kid. Your system will go and talk to each of these different OSS, object storage servers, in real time and get the data, and it can be pulling from all of them at the same time. So you say, what limits the speed of these devices to get that data back here? It's the network. So if your network, well, it's network and then what this device can handle based on its RAM and its disk, and its ability to pull data out of that network is like a fire hose. Your system is probably, actually your network tends to be your bottleneck first, and then your system capability second. Lustre is just sitting there chilling, and it's stuffing all the data it can, because it's all these devices giving you all the data as fast as you can read it. It's tremendously fast. And then the systems that you use to connect into this is super fast. Yeah. Oh, Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory. Yeah, them and Sandia, right? Sandia Labs, National Sandia. Yeah, those are like the two. Because I see LLNL. Yeah, the Lawrence Livermore. That's the one on the other side of the pond that push a lot of this technology too. Those guys. All right, but this isn't a class on Lustre right now. But that is like if you want to go dig into Lustre, it is still kicking. And you might say, oh, really? It's very niche, very much down in the high performance compute space. There's a lot of money to be made in this. In fact, I'll tell you guys, I was working on, let me tell you guys a story about 2014. I jumped over to a company. I was working at a company called Caris Life Sciences. And they were like, they were hiring me away from a company called CGI that I was working for. And I was doing all this big federal stuff. And when they hired me, I went on over there for I think a pretty good little salary bump from where I was, and I was still kind of earlier in my career. That was 10 plus years ago now, and I was mid career, and I was kind of jumping up and getting to better salary and stuff. But I remember they told me later, they're like, yeah, we got you at this salary, but the only other guy that we interviewed and kind of liked was an academic dude, and he didn't really know this back end stuff too much, and he offered. He had, and this was in 2014. He was like, yeah, I'll come down there only half the year though. I'll work on your systems or whatever, but I'm gonna be $395K a year. And I looked at him and I was like, oh, you guys got me for fucking steal then, didn't you? And they're like, yeah, we did. And I was like, you sons of bitch. But I found out that like this dude asked for $395 a year, and I was like, I ran out of fingers counting the difference there. No, I'm just kidding. But anyways, trust me, they got me way cheaper, and I knew Linux operationally way better than him because he was an academic. I'm also an academic, but this guy was an academic like that worked at a college and all that kind of stuff. I'm an academic who works at a college, but it's because I teach, right? Anyway, so that's neither here nor there. So play with the Lustre if you guys want. That's fine. But back to this carving of this. I now have to make a file system on this space VG1. So how am I going to do that? I'm going to say make fs, and I'm going to go ahead and say xfs. So we're going to use xfs for now. I hate that race to the bottom. Yeah. Well, you know, I stayed with them for a couple years. I'll tell you what, Caris Life Sciences was one of the best companies I ever worked for. I met really good friends. Some of the guys are down in our Discord, and I met really good people there. And it's CARIS Life Sciences. And to this day, if you go look up Caris Life Sciences, what they do is still a very important mission. And I really liked being a big part of the mission because I built a lot of their high performance compute stuff out. And then I supported it for many years and made it better. But yeah, I have to say, sadly, I left for more money. But, you know, I mean, like, that's what happens in this world. I do think, though, and I remember I've told people since then, after you get to a certain point in engineering, and some of you aren't going to believe me, but I'm going to tell you this anyways, when you get to a certain point in engineering, the money isn't the important thing anymore. What I mean by that is you're making enough that, like 30K more isn't going to change anything for you, really. And that may sound pretty Chad, but it's true. What is much more important is that you're in a comfortable environment and you like it. You're not in some rat race and then you got a boss yelling at you all the time and that kind of stuff. You will find, yeah, that is great. I applied for a job at Caris. Perspectivist, I've talked to people like I left there in 2016, and I talked to people in 2020 that were like, yeah, you're Scott Champagne. Oh, I still used your document. I got my name right. I used one of your documents when I was over there as an architect or whatever. Yeah, your stuff's still floating around there. And that felt good. And some of you guys that know or have been in our Discord when people have come and talked to us, some of the guys have mentioned back when I was at Lockheed, and I haven't been at Lockheed for over 12 years now. About 12 years. And people are still over there using some of the stuff that I built. So their work in cancer is great because, yeah, I try to tell people, like, they're like, what does Caris do? Go look at what Caris does, guys. So let me tell you guys real quick how cancer works. If you go in and you get diagnosed, you know, God willing that never happens to you, but your doctor's going to look at a list like this, and they're going to say, here's the most, you know, your let's say you've got I don't know, skin cancer. Here's the most common treatment that works for the most people. And here's the next most common treatment that works for the most people as well. And he's going to go down, he or she is going to go down that list every 6 months trying whatever AI's doing this better. But yes, so they're going to go down this list. And then when, again, if hopefully you're better, but if you're not, right, we're just going down the list, you're going to go to the experimental treatments. And you're going to try the one that's the most likely to save the most people. And maybe before you find an effective treatment, 2 years have already gone by. You're absolutely ravaged, because I don't know if you guys know, but the way medicine saves people from cancer, and I only know this because I worked in this space for some time, they try to kill everything and hope you survive. Now they try to target it. Yes, I'm not saying that. I'm not trying to just, I'm kind of being a basic infantry guy and saying this is what it was like for us, was just like kill everything and hope you survive. But anyways, where I'm going with that is what Keras does is this. They do a 600 gene panel mapping on you and say those first 3, they have a very low outcome rate for people like you. Your cells have this. You're probably going to want to go to that second experimental treatment. That works 95% of the time for people with your gene panel. And they had, when I worked for them, the biggest cancer repository in the world. In fact, when I was there, 2 times Google came out to look at us to buy us because Google wanted to do that. Yeah. So, yeah, and look, I'm not a bioinformatics guy. I worked with a lot of them, and actually, this is one of my favorite things that happened to me in my career. Is when I was there, the bioinformatics director, who was a doctor, he told my boss, he goes, hey, if Scott ever wants to leave, tell him that we'll just hire we'll just hire him internally to our team. And I was like, I don't do bioinformatics. And he's like, yeah, but you get this stuff, because I was always working with those guys on getting their processes to work and stuff. So I always felt like that felt pretty good. Now finishing up my doctorate, but not in that space. I understand the research part of these things, right? Like maybe I'm not a doctor in that sense, but these guys were all medical doctors and bioinformaticists and stuff. But he was like, yeah, we want Scott on the team. And I was like, yes, because I'm good at the Linux side of things mostly. That's really all I do. Anyway, so we're going to make FS, but what are we going to make it against? We've got this volume group. We need a path, right? So I'm going to make that XFS against dev mapper, and then it's going to be the name. So it's going to be VG1 dash space, and tab is your friend. Tab's going to do whatever. And your system now built on dev mapper VG1 space, that file system. So watch this real quick. I know I'm doing a lot of switching, but if I do a block ID of my system, I now have this dev mapper VG1 space with XFS on it. So could I right now say make dir space, because I don't have space on there. So make dir space, and then could I just mount the dev mapper VG1 space onto space? My system, by the way, I could have given the -T type for XFS, but my system will find the right mount helper, and it'll mount it that way. So now if I do mount and then I grep for space, I see space is mounted. I see that it's type XFS, and I see that it took a whole bunch of these defaults. Now we can go modify those defaults. It is read-write, so I should be able to CD into space. I should be able to df-h dot and say, look at all this space I've got. I should be able to touch some file, and then ls-l on some file, and see that it's in there in this directory. Random is electrical engineering, knowledge useful in the Linux world. The real Sega, I think that all engineering would be useful in the Linux world. I think you'll find a lot of applications where Linux and electrical engineering cross over. I've often joked that all engineers at some point want to be electrical or mechanical engineers. I joke around about that because, I mean, look at how many guys you know that do like systems engineering like me, or network engineering or software engineering, but they're also like playing around with like little programmable logic controllers and stuff that belongs in the electrical engineering space. But they're like, well, I mean, I get an XOR, and I understand flipping a bit on and off to turn a light on and off, and I can do that from my right. So you see, like, I think there's a lot of crossover the real Sega, and there's a lot of devices. You know, people use their little Raspberry Pis, and there's this whole on the older Pis. There's like 48 pins across the top right there. I don't know if you can see them. There's 48 pins across the top there, and some of them do positive, negative 5 volts, and you can actually use them for signal creation and turning on and off other devices and all that kind of stuff. And There's a lot of cool little projects that you can do that your electrical engineering would help greatly for, like, because like I know how to do all the stuff inside of this, and I can fumble around and get the Python or the bash to turn the pins on and off, but I don't know the other side of it where like the lights have the electrical set up to them and then they're just waiting for the signal. I don't know that side as well, so a lot of you guys know that. So like, yeah, so like if you're already an electrical engineer, I think a lot of people do that. Or if you want to get into electrical engineering, I think that there's a tremendous, like I just think of Linux as the base for all this stuff that you guys could do. So, yeah, if you're gonna go back to school, for sure, think about any of that stuff. And I also tell people, like, electrical engineers are probably the most of what I'm about to say. Network engineers are probably the second most. But what I'm about to say is this: you go to school and you have no idea what you're about to go do as a career. And I know network engineers. I'm technically a trained network engineer. That's what my bachelor's degree is in network engineering. It's a network communication management is my undergrad. And you have no idea where your career is going to go. Like, I did networks for a couple years and I was like, I don't really love this. And I moved over into like all systems engineering and Linux for the most part, hardware engineering, that kind of stuff a little bit. It's easy. GPIO, yeah, it's the only reason RPIs. Yeah, the Raspberry Pis. Yeah. It's super easy. Like, the barrier of entry of getting a hold of one of these. I remember when they first started making these, and I waited for my first Raspberry Pi. I waited, right? Like, if you guys remember when they used to have the back orders of hundreds of thousands of back orders, and where I'm going with that is, I remember when I first got this, they had a goal to never have these things cost more than $35. Now, if you guys have used some of the new ones, man, they go into the hundreds of dollars. But their original, like in their original charter that was up on their page, they always wanted it to be really cheap so that kids could get a hold of it. They wanted people to get in there. So, yeah, the real Sega. I don't think either one of them is going to lose out for you. But you got to think of this: what do you want to do? Do you want to be working down in hardware? That's your electrical engineering degree, right? Computer science, you're going to be doing probably a fair amount of more of just sitting around doing this stuff, right? The logic you're going to learn is the same. I mean, we can go over right now. I've got my little talks on logic and all that stuff and how anding and oring works and that kind of stuff. And anding, A-N-D-I-N-G. Yeah, there we go. It's a mathematical term, right? We and. We could talk about that, and it would be the same if you were electrical engineer or computer science engineer. It wouldn't matter. So, Java. Computer science is more math focused. I'd say nowadays for sure. So we've carved out our logical volumes from that. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to drop this down here. I'm going to say logical. Logical volumes, right? And then this will be in this context. This one was space. And then what space ends up looking like is, let's see if we just get rid of those parts. And then logic volumes, and this one was called space. And then in here we have to create a file system, right, inside of that before mounting. Let's go ahead and just break him in half. Oh, can we just break him? Ah, there we go. That's fine. Create a file system, and then from there we mount this onto the. Oops. We're just gonna mount, and then we mount this. So then we mount to. Right, because like a Linux system, you can't just take a block device and a file system and use them. You have to mount them somewhere so that the operating system can do something with them. So we've got this mounted right here. And if I were to CD back to root real quick and U-mount, you don't unmount, you U-mount space. And then I CD back into space and I LS, there's nothing there. And the reason there's nothing there is because the file system has been unmounted. So now this is based off of the tempfs file system of our base root of our system. So let's go back to root real quick. The root of the root's home. This is root's home here. And we'll do our mount. We'll just do our mount again of dev mapper. We'll put them back on space. And then if we CD back there to space, we do a df-h here, we'll see there's our space mounted again. If we do an ls-l, there's our file again that we had. And then I want to show you guys something. This is important because this is a big systems administration thing right here. You want to unmount, maybe this file system's busted in some way. I've got it from NFS, and the NFS server went down last night, and it came up, and we're just getting weird connections, and things aren't writing in and out. So I decide, well, hey, across all of our systems, we need to unmount and remount. That's going to be one of our checks. Maybe we checked it on one server, and then we know it's good, so now we're going to do it across all the other ones. And I go to unmount this. Is this going to work right now? Does anybody know if this is going to work right now? I'm going to unmount the space directory like I did right here. But is it going to work this time? If it isn't going to work, why? Or if it is going to work, why, I guess. Does anybody know? Already done. I'm an unemployed uni student. How else would I be here for? Well, Razushi, we normally call these the degen hours. So if you're here at 4 a.m., there you go. But you should get some rest because I'm going to do this for real in, 3 hours, 3.5 hours. Saying they teach everyone Java, Spring, React, and no one get a job. Oh, tomorrow. The question was, is this going to unmount right now? And if not, why? I unmounted it a few seconds ago right here. But why is this or is this not going to unmount here in a second? I'm going to try to unmount the space directory. Oh gosh, guys, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm not used to, normally I have my filter on normally. Hold on, let me move myself out of the way for a second. Let me put this back over here because I want this back over here. I won't be as low on the screen from now on. I'll be a little smarter about it, but hold on. There I am. Okay. Now you guys can see. Anyways, is this going to work or no? I'm going to let you guys think about that for a second, or some of you have been thinking about it. If it doesn't unmount, why? If you don't think this is going to unmount, why? You don't have to tell me. Just think to yourself. This is the same thing I do in like our Linux Systems Administration. You know, we've got all those people. You don't have to tell me why, but I need you to internalize it for yourself if you're trying to learn this stuff. Because the file is in use. Okay, that's... How about the directory is in use? The directory, by the way, the directory still is technically a file to Linux. But yeah, let's run this. Let's see what happens. Because I'm in the directory. Yes, that's true. How does the system know I'm in the directory? Does anybody ever wonder about that? Yeah, how does the system know? Look at this. I can do an LSOF on space. LSOF is not found. Okay, so we need to fix the labs, guys. We just found something. We need to fix the labs. Yeah. So I'm gonna show you guys something. We're gonna exit out of here. We can come back to that. Well, let me. That's good enough for now. I'm gonna yes, it is because we're in there. We don't have LSOF though, which is a problem. So let's back out of here real quick, and let's fix that real quick in our environment. So if we just do a Control R and then exec, this is our lab environment, and I'm going to do a DNF install LSOF. I have no idea why we don't have LSOF on our system, but I'm going to go put it in the container image for these nodes, and then in all future reboots of these nodes, they will have the container image. Yeah, but LSOF would show that there's an open file in there, and then that would have mapped back to our bash, and we'd have been like, Or we could have used LSOF to see all the other users that were in there, and then we could have unmounted. We could have killed those user processes off and then unmounted it, or we could have done a lazy unmount, which is a umount-l. But the problem with the lazy unmount is this. Just sometimes you don't get the system back properly later because I want to try to remount this later. So a lot of times we want to avoid a umount-l, which is a lazy unmount, unless we know that we're going to reboot that box anyways or something like that. But if I'm trying to save a system, I'd rather remove the users and do a clean umount than a umount-l all the time. It's like if you only have this one tool in your toolbox, this one hammer, everything's going to look like a nail. And I'm going to tell you, one day you're going to hit a nail and it's going to go sideways like that, and you're going to be like, you know, and I'm just saying there's weird things that happen in system. I can't even quantify all the weird things I've seen over the years where you do a umount-l and then when you try to remount it on a running system, it just never comes back the same. The file system over a network doesn't come back the same, especially if it's a big NFS. So a lot of times you're like, well, it looks like we got to take this box down now, because otherwise you're trying to sit there and unravel what processes were and it's just going to be a nightmare forever. So it's better in a lot of times to just bring the system down and bring it back up clean. All right, so anyway, so that installed it. We're going to exit, and it's going to rebuild. Rocky is going to rebuild that lab environment for us. And then we're going to go and we're going to reboot all the nodes. Well, we're going to see if any users are in them. I'm going to show you guys what I would normally do as like a systems admin. What we could do as sysadmins in our environment here. So when this is done, I'm going to hit Control R, and then I'm going to look for Ansible, and I'm going to see what my latest Ansible commands were. Give it a second here. Robodom, you said I'm over on YouTube and people are chatting? Well, I did not realize I was in YouTube right now. Let me see. Hold on. Can somebody... I don't know if somebody can try over there. If I am streaming over there, awesome. I just... Hold on a second. Hold on. Is this working? Well, it would be awesome if I was on YouTube because I didn't realize I was. Or I need to figure out a better way then to see this other interface because the interface shows that I'm not up over there. So, all right. Anyway, so let's do Control R Ansible, and let's see what. Nope. Control Shift R. There we go. So now this is our Ansible server's uptime command, and let's just go ahead and save that part of the command for now. And let's just see if we can hit all 19 of my servers. 1 through 19, right? Can I hit them all? Oh yeah, somebody told me they broke Rocky 9 the other day. Hold on, let's go fix Rocky 9. Let's get them all back up. So we'll come over here, we'll go look at Rocky 9. What's going on with this poor guy? Okay. Do you guys know what the OOM killer is? Anybody here do enough Linux or play with Linux to... This is fun. You're going to run into this in your career. The OOM killer or OOM killer is a arbitrary process that if somebody fills up a system... Yeah, it's the it's out of memory killer. It just goes around and arbitrarily kills stuff in the system. It's one of like the worst things ever. Yeah, this thing will drive you nuts. But this system's just getting OOM killing everything. So the system looks like it's down, but it's just in a really bad hung state. So we're gonna reboot that by. That's funny. That is super funny that the OOM killer was going. You can tune that, but I don't think you can fully disable it in modern Linux. So like you just have this thing that runs around like a hatchet man and kills processes off. And it never kills the thing that you're like, how did you pick that OOM killer? And it's just running around like a little hatchet man, just killing, it's killing SSHD. And you're like, everybody was on that. It's the weirdest fucking process. Yeah, it just runs around killing everything. That's what OOM killer does. But it only does it if you run out of memory. So, Yeah, Robodom, I'd prefer if you guys just reboot it and let it kick you out. I'll tell people that today in the thing too. But yeah, a reboot's better because then it leaves a clean environment for the next person. That's what I would normally do is a reboot. Exit would be perfectly fine if I just never went through and set up. I need to set up a thing that just wipes everything. But sometimes people are on late at night, so I don't just want like a midnight for me reset because that might kill everybody else. Payload in the web and the antivirus will destroy your database because it found malware data in the record. Yeah. Mint, it's if anybody here ever watched any Rick and Morty, it's Mr. Meeseek's solution for Jerry not being able to take 2 strokes off his golf game. Because the request was for 2 strokes to be taken off of his golf game. Well, if we can't take 2 strokes off your golf game, we'll take all the strokes off of your golf game when we kill you. And when we kill you, now you have no strokes on your golf game. We've dropped your strokes by 2, and we can disappear forever. That's what happens on the... That's what they try to do anyways. If you ever watch... That's the first season of Rick and Morty. I love, not to be one of those guys, but I've been watching Rick and Morty since like whenever it came out, what would that have been, like 2013, 2014 when it first started coming? Do you have any documents to learn better about image creation? Hacks, I don't have any great ones. I do have some that show you. Yeah, Mr. Meeseeks. In fact, if you guys are in Discord, I'm pretty sure that's my character on Discord, isn't he? Hold on. Yeah, I'm a Mr. Meeseeks. Because my goal as an engineer is to do what I'm going to do and then disappear forever, right? By the way, guys, I do have, for those of you that are doing the projects or are going through our Linux Systems Administration course, Unit 3 is up, and the questions and the work for Unit 3 is up as well. So there's all this stuff here. Yeah, to bread. That's like that one, and then the other one that I would love to have, but I can't have because our faint calf already has it. Is who here remembers Strong Bad? I love Strong Bad, man. If you ever want to go watch some funny stuff on YouTube, go watch some Strong Bad. That's my recommendation for the day. Anyways, okay, let's kill that one box. He should be coming up soon, or we'll check all the boxes, make sure they're all up. And actually, we could use him as a quick example. We can SSH into Rocky 9 as soon as we see him finish at the console here. Yeah, if you're late, you can still go through and do the old stuff. I'm gonna be okay with that. Yeah. In fact, I gotta figure out a new way, man. I've been having everybody turn everything in through email, and I'm just like, there's no way I'm gonna be able to grade everything. So I need to maybe, let's see, LSOF is there. Yep. All right, so we exit out of there. We go rerun everything. We'll see all green. Oh, Strong Bad is so funny, man. Like, obviously Trogdor. People who know who Trogdor is, that comes from there. His stuff was just so good. All right, so all my systems. So now I'm going to do this. Watch. I'm going to come over here. And what was I going to do real quick? I had a command that I wanted to run everywhere, but I don't remember. Hold on. Why did I start this? I know I'm going to reboot them. Don't get me wrong about that. We're going to reboot all these here in a second. But there was something. Oh! I was going to do this, so I forgot to show you guys this. So what I wanted to say was, we need to. You're going to have it tomorrow. I'm putting it on right now. I'm putting it on. But what I wanted to do first was I was going to say echo. This system is going down for maintenance, and I'm going to echo that to wall, right, within this. So now I'm going to run that on all the boxes, and you're going to see it. Well, you might see it here, but that's going to go and it's going to hit all the systems. And if I had been SSH'd into one, I would have seen that. Tomorrow, did you just get one? If you're in one of the labs, you're going to get that. This system is going down for maintenance. It should have went to everybody's wall. If you guys want to see it, I'll do this. Watch. I'll SSH to Scott at Werewolf. That's in my home lab, right? And then I'll sudo up. That should be my... Oh, that was a longer password. There we go. And then now I'll SSH to like Rocky 9 real quick, just so I'm on it. I'll come back here and I'll rerun my wall, and then we'll sit here, and when it gets to it, I should get that message echoed to my wall here. Boom. System is going down for maintenance. So now that just broadcasts across all the lab servers, so I don't have to feel bad. Oh, Rocky 10's already down. Maybe somebody already rebooted 10. And then I just go here, and we could do the module reboot, but we could also do... Yeah, let's give it the module reboot. Right? So against all those servers, just hit the reboot. It should hit them all, and then it should take them all down. And I should see, like if I was just watching the console here, I should see this console go down. Right here. Right? Literally all the consoles should just go down. Yeah, let's do it this way. mshell. That's how I normally do it. And you'll get some errors and some don't. I used to think LSOF was only for... Yeah, LSOF-I with a colon to see the port numbers and see what's listening. One of the most just useful things across the systems administration world. What Mint just noted was LSOF-I. Like, you know, some people think it's for networking. But you can get some really good information out of the ports and see what's open to port, what's listening, you know, all kinds of things about what kind of processes are using a port. And that's kind of a big thing for like forensics. Like, why is something breaking? Why the hell is this thing running? Has our box been compromised? Why is this thing talking back? I remember this was back in the day when I worked at AAA. We, because I ran their Linux platform engineering, some of our servers were compromised by, and this was back before the whole conflict with Russia, but it was a whole bunch of stuff over on the whole bunch of our stuff was being compromised and sending stuff to Ukraine. Well, I don't know how compromised we were. We locked the boxes down and we sent stuff up, but it was some Ukrainian IP address that was coming there. Yeah, and then kill it, right? Kill that process off. Yeah. For us, we isolate off the network, and then we capture it at a memory level, and then we give it as a black box for security to go do stuff with. I never heard anything back from security on that, so I don't know where that ever went. Also, interestingly enough, I am seeing in my little mini feed here, I am seeing what's going on the YouTube side, so that's kind of cool. I can see like little subscriptions from YouTube, so that's kind of cool. I didn't, but I can't see the YouTube running up here, so that kind of sucks. So I wonder if there's a way for me to see. Let me go over here. Let me go to multi-stream chat and see if I can give some permissions. Hold on a second here real quick. Permissions, authorize, whatever. Hey, Robodom, will you do me a favor? Will you try to send something on that YouTube side? I know you were saying that you were on both sides. Do me a favor and check that real quick. Yeah, Robodom, I'll tell you what, Streamlabs been pissing me off all day, so I might be done with them. But can you send me? I've got this. Oh, so I've got a stream. Okay, yeah, okay, that's cool. I'm just gonna send a test here. Oh, I see that on both sides. That's kind of cool. So, Robodom, yeah, send me stuff on both sides if you would. I don't know if anybody minds typing some messages for me. I'm not trying to like up my engagement or nothing like that. I'm seeing stuff on YouTube here, and I'm seeing stuff over on nice. That's actually, you know what? That's worth the headache, because now I see you guys on Twitch and YouTube right here. So that's pretty cool. And then Hymnal, you said, I just got a Dell PowerVault with 60 LTO 2. I hope you're messing around with me, because LTO 2, oh man, that's an old linear tape open standard. How can you capture your memory and package it for security, guys? Stefan, you just gotta sit around and just work on this stuff, man. I don't have a good answer for what's going on there. By the way, you know what? That's funny, because I was also wondering why in Streamlabs it was telling me I had 64 viewers, but Twitch only tells me I have 48, and I was like, what's the difference? Because Streamlabs is seeing both, so that's okay. I see that. I see now what's going on. No, Hymnal, that's fine. Like, I'm not saying anything bad about it. I'm just saying linear tape open 2. So if you go to Wikipedia LTO and you look at the linear tape open standard, the linear tape open standard for 2 is pretty old. Those are 200 gig tapes. So that's not like where we're at nowadays in the industry, way over here. But I mean, that's not. I mean, I guess that's not terrible. That would be good to practice on for sure. Yeah. I think that's good. I actually like this little multi-stream thing, so now I can see both sides of things. Fisherman, don't tell me you have LTO2 in your environment. We had somebody in here yesterday. He was saying his Plex server is 64 terabytes, and I was like, oh man, that guy's got damn near every movie probably for the last 100 years. 64 terabytes. Probably high quality too, right? That's a big backup. All right. So anyway, so raw disks, they get packaged up like this. So, and then mount to the system with like a mount command, and then we can see them with like a df-h, you know. So over here, you know, you use right, and then that's kind of, so, you know, it's not some perfect drawing, but that is how I look at logical volume management. And I come from I'm not trying to say I'm like old school or anything, but I come from this space where this right here is how storage area networks used to be defined. So you would have out in a storage area network, you would have a JBOD, which is just a bunch of disks. JBOD stands for just a bunch of disks. I should have put that in the meeting. Well, we'll talk about it today, but that's not. I should have put that as one of our things, keywords that you got to go look up. But then, so you go over here and you go just a bunch of disks, and you would take that and you would aggregate those up into RAIDs, right? So you would have like an 8+2 RAID 6, and an 8+2 RAID 6 is only going to lose about 30% of its disk space, but you're going to have the ability that you could lose 3 disks before you lost any data because you've got 2 hot spares ready to jump in at any time. And unlike RAID 5, do you guys know the limitation of RAID 5? Does everybody here know why RAID 5 isn't used in the industry a lot? And why we prefer RAID 6? Because when RAID 5 is rebuilding, there's a degradation of the disks. So if you have 3 disks in a RAID 5, you got 3 disks, and one of the disks go down, you don't lose any data. But when you put that new disk back in, the operation of rebuilding the data to that disk slows down all of your other reads and writes. But when you have 4 disks or more, which is 4 disks is the minimum for RAID 6, and one of them is just kind of hanging out as a hot spare, and he's got all this different data on him. He's a hot spare in that if this disk goes down, he immediately comes up as another disk. Don't pay attention to what I'm doing over here. And now when the other disk gets replaced and comes back, now you've got that operation happens offline, so these disk operations don't slow down any. Okay. Anyways, yeah, don't worry about me over here. This is gonna take me a little while to get used to, but I can see people on Twitch and on YouTube. Yeah, Colorman, I don't know anything about Orion Innovation. I don't know what that is, unfortunately. So, yeah. So there's that. Yeah, Hymnal, there's no problem. Man, look, free stuff is free stuff. I'm trying to get my boss to give me old lab equipment. And if he can give me old lab equipment, we'll have some high-speed networks to use. Because he has a lot of switching equipment. And even if it's older, we could still have a back-channel network that can be operating outside of our normal network, and then that gets you closer, some of you guys closer to doing high performance stuff. Does Ansible set up RAID? Mr. Couture, that I'd say that's a multi-part question, right? Does Ansible have the ability to interact with disks on a system? Yes. I don't know if it does like MDADM software RAID, but could you use Ansible to set things up like that in a repeatable fashion? Absolutely. I've used Ansible to set up logical volume management like this, absolutely. Do you still need to put LVM on MDADM RAID to get redundancy, or does LVM handle it now? So, to Bread, when you carve this, when you carve your logical volumes, you can tell it to go across multiple disks. You can even, I believe, I'm not sure about this with logical volumes, I think you may be able to tell it to use different volume groups too. But no, when you carve a logical volume from a volume group, you can use multiple disks, and you can actually tell it to do a RAID 5 or that kind of stuff. So LVM, logical volume management, can do your array stuff nowadays. I don't usually do it like that. Like I've been, call me blessed or cursed, in my environments and in my career, I have often been able to say, I don't care about that server. And what I mean by that is like the server itself, I can throw that thing away. Maybe it's because I'm pretty okay at building them and I'm good at just putting another server in its place if that server goes down. But where I'm going with that is I don't necessarily care if any of my local disks are rated, because information that's important is being sent off the server in real time, if that kind of makes sense. Does anybody want this drawing? Do any of you guys want this? Look, I'll show you something cool about this. I'm going to save this. I'm just going to say save to. I'm going to save it to my home disk, and I'm going to call this, I'll just call this LVM visual, right? And then I'm going to, watch this, I'm going to grab what I want out of this, which is literally, oh, hold on. I'm going to give this a second. Okay. It's like, I know the file's saved. Get out of here. That's super annoying. It's like go away. I know the file's saved. Can I do anything to get you to go away? Hold on. I've never seen a message just stay, like the message was like standing there like it wanted a tip still or something. I'm like, go away. What are you doing? All right. Anyways, I'm going to grab this, and I'm going to take this, and I'm going to say this will be part of our... hold on. Get out of here. I want this, because I didn't want it to have that other part to it. All right. Let's grab it again. Here. So here's our little drawing for our talk today. Edit, copy, come back here. Don't give everything away. I'm just kidding. I was showing this stuff earlier. And then administrative tasks, working with lab this week. What are we doing? Let's duplicate slide. You gotta kind of duplicate the slide, because if you don't, this deck will just... Oh, I hope this blows up. Yeah, it's fine. That blows up pretty good. I didn't see, because I wasn't looking. Does anybody want... Did any of you guys say that you wanted this? I didn't see it. I missed it. My apologies. But did anybody say they wanted this drawing? Okay, so let me show you guys something cool. So with Excalidraw, I can just now that I've done this, I'm going to start a live collaboration setting. And I'm going to... Oh, you can screenshot it, but I'm saying if you want to be able to modify it later. I'm just going to drop this in here. For you guys on the Twitch side, you're going to have to grab that out. On the YouTube side, it should be good. And then what I want you guys to do, you can actually jump in. I'm going to leave this up. You guys can grab this. You guys can save it to your own machine. You can start modifying it, right? You could say, hey, well, what about this part? So you guys can jump in and, oh, God, I shouldn't do that if Fisherman's around. Oh. If Fisherman's around, do you guys know what happens to me? He's probably got it all queued up already. But, oh, you know what? I forgot that the other part of that drawing's up there, too. But you guys have all this stuff. I'm down here on the bottom one. But you guys can modify. You can go tear it apart. I don't care. You guys can crap all over that. But what Fisherman does is Fisherman puts pictures of me up there all the time, which is not very thoughtful. He's not the thoughtful weasel, because that would not fit for him. But anyways, yeah, you guys can jump in there, and you can use that link to download this. You can also, by the way, let me show you guys this. If I was like, hey, I don't trust you guys, you can make a shareable link and it will be read only, and you can embed that in applications, and then people can download. Basically what they're doing is getting this in an editable format. So somebody needs to change these raw disks to the exact names they want for their actual architecture drawing, and they're like, oh, why'd you put it off to the side? You should just put it above, You can modify it however you want, This is for you guys, right? This is for you to... By the way, you could take notes in this program. You could just sit there and keep notes as we talk. I also like LogSec for notes. One of the ones, this one's been saving me on my doctorate, Zotero. Somebody mentioned Zotero a while back, and this thing has absolutely changed the way that I take notes and keep track of stuff. Because what I can do is, like I was talking about conceptual frameworks versus theoretical foundations, and the conceptual framework right here is, now when I double clicked, it dropped me back in the Wikipedia, right? Which some of you know, you don't want to use too much Wikipedia, but a little bit of Wikipedia for definitions are fine. But then I can come here. This is my favorite thing about this. I can just say create a bibliography from it. I'm using 7th edition of APA, and I can either drop it right out or copy it to my clipboard, and then I can come here and Jesus, and then I can just drop that right there as my. Whoops, that's not good. Hold on. That's not what I want either. Anyways, where's Zotero at? Go back to Zotero. I can grab that. I can create a bibliography. Say OK, and then it should be in my paste buffer. Nope, still not there. Where the heck is this? Hold on. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, that is right. Conceptual framework. So now I have, that's a bibliography for that in APA 7 format. So if any of you are still writing and doing APA or MLA, look at all these format types. You say, hey, Scott, I need to talk about conceptual frameworks tonight, but we use MLA, right? MLA is a very popular one as well. APA and MLA typically. Where's MLA? Is that Chicago man? No. Yeah, MLA is right here. And you need their 9th edition. Boom. You should be able to. There you go. And then it's in the other version or whatever. But then the other cool thing about it is, like, I was doing one. What was I doing? Oh, I was talking about, like, students becoming. We were talking about students, how they learn, and how learning is affected by students coming from another culture. And now you're having to, like, assimilate as a student, and you're trying to find comfort, but, like, you know, you're having a harder time when you're out. You know, shopping is different, traveling is different, going to school is different. Everything's different. It was like an out of. And what I was doing was I was comparing that to how students sit, right? How you sit, long-term office chair stuff. And I was doing a bunch of stuff with that. And the point is, this is just a really awesome way for me to keep hold on things. Yeah, it's hard to keep everything organized, but I think Zotero is a really good tool for that. So that's been pretty good. So, words I never wish to hear again, MLA. Yeah, APA works pretty well for me. I'm pretty good at APA, I think, if that kind of makes sense. But anyway, so we're building this out. You guys can here, I'll back this out. I can't leave it on this when I walk away because that'll probably get me kicked off of Twitch, but I can then destroy my version of it, and you guys still have access to it. You should still have access to it, and you guys can go do anything you want in there. So, all right. If you guys don't know, we've got over here, we've got a professional Linux users group you guys can go hang out in. Bunch of places to go there. We've got our beginner start here section. Linux guy, take my fall. That's all I do is Linux, right? This is what I do professionally. But here's a bunch of certs you can go get in the engineering space. And then here's our ProLUG projects where we're doing our Linux Systems Administration course for those of you that are interested in kind of going that route. All right. There are, yeah, and then we're talking about it later today. We've got an event, and the event last time I checked was 170 something people. We're still at 171, but even though we're in week 3, you guys still have time to join. You'd have to do some catching up. 16-week course, so you're not that far back. But we had 90 people the first week, and we had 50 people this last week. So, oh yeah, the Discord doesn't work on the YouTube side of things, Leaf. Yeah, we have to manually move it over there, unfortunately. Here, I'll give you guys the link over there. Yeah, week 3 already, and we're talking today about disks and operations. So, what I'm trying to do, guys, and this is hopefully this is clear for some of you guys that are wanting or interested in doing the course. I'm doing something different than like all my labs, and something different than just like the hands-on stuff we've been doing. I still think hands-on is the most important part. You have to know how to do stuff at a command line. But but I think you need to, yeah, Mint, you can go back and do the older weeks, yeah. You might have to go look for them, because when a thread isn't been used for a while, a thread goes away here, but the thread never goes away up here. So like the Linux thread 1 is still here for post-discussion 1. And there's 110 messages in it. Yeah, you can go in there, absolutely. Yeah, and get the little cert thing. Yeah, Mint, I think I'm going to allow people to do it all the way to the end. Because I would rather people get the cert and feel like they accomplished something, even if they had to run fast to catch up, right? But you can go find, like in the discussions, you can go find interesting things that people have talked about and all that stuff. So, yeah, I think that that's going to be good. And we're keeping all of these on YouTube. So we're going to, as I record them, like this is not the recording for this. This is just me messing around right now. But I will have a recording on YouTube for Unit 3. And that is all here in our beginner start. So we've got a playlist for it, and the first 2 are already up. So any of you guys that want to do that can do that. All right, here's what I'm going to do real quick. I'm going to get this out of the way, and I'm going to pull up Ranger Cam real quick. How's Ranger doing? We got to log in. In my home lab, we got to log into Grafana. Do I even know how to get in there? Yeah, there we go. There's Ranger. All right, we're gonna do a break real quick. So let me pull up my hourglass, and we'll do a break. So 8-minute break. Stretch your legs. 8 minutes. All right, I'll be back, guys. Keep hanging out. Robodom's in charge. Robodom, don't get stressed about falling behind. You can always catch up. All right, you guys behaving in here? Keep taking a break. Take a little bit of a break. Yeah, Moop Moop. Ranger is super tired, man. He's getting old. It's hard to watch. Like, I really love Ranger, man, and it's hard to watch him get old like he is. But he's a good dog. We love him. He is not really a guard dog. He is now retired. He just lays around. But he still knows if he can give me one good bark. Ranger's almost is he almost 14 now? I gotta go look. I think he's almost 14. I'm pretty sure he's 13 right now, almost 14. I'm forgetting though. Was he just 12 and he's almost 13? I forget. But his birthday is coming up. Yep. His birthday's end of October. I think he's almost 14. He's a big dog too. Like he stands to almost my hip, and I'm 5'11", so. I'll post. I'll find the little thing. My wife's got a little thing for him. But, all right, keep taking a break, guys. Walk around. Yeah, he's an old pupper. He just needs to give me one bark. He doesn't have to fight nothing. He just has to give me a bark and let me know, and I'll come downstairs and he can hide for all I care. When he was younger, he'd have probably attacked somebody for me, but now he's old and he just hangs out. He is the calmest dog. All the kids love him. We got a bunch of we got a grandbaby, but then we've got a lot of nieces and nephews, so he loves them all. So, all right, take a break. Keep watching Ranger. I'll go give him a treat. Since I kind of know somebody's going to ask what I gave him, I posted down in the Discord. Hymnal, you got a Fujita San with tape. Nice. 9.6 terabytes of storage. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Yeah, so if you guys want to see what I gave Ranger, because I know somebody's like, what did he give Ranger? Go here. And pets are family. That's what I gave him right there. And I'll be honest, man. I opened that thing up and I'm like, would I eat one of these? I wouldn't, but it probably would be good. So that's Ranger for you. Good old Ranger dog. Now he's gonna lick his bed forever. So they're like little bacon things, man. Oh, no, that was super real looking bacon thing. Yeah, Ranger loves them. The wife just recently got them for him because we used to always give him hard treats, and now we kind of split like half hard treats and half. Yeah. So there's that. All right, so I got to figure out how on YouTube to watch. So if I'm actually live, but YouTube's not showing me live, can I just hold on? Can I just drop to manage, and I can see that I'm live here. But let me, I guess that's what I'm going to have to do. I'll just have to watch there and see that I'm live. All right, well, I guess so it's going to be a new workflow for me on the YouTube side. That's fine, I guess. Yeah, they're like bacon flavored. They actually smell really good, man. I told the wife, I was like, I don't think I should be near these things. I shouldn't be in charge of distributing these to Ranger, because like they are legitimately, they smell really good, and I'm like, I'm not gonna eat a little dog treat, but I'll tell you what, it looks really good. Like it smells really good too, but you know, that's Ranger. Yeah, Robodom. So while Streamlabs has messed many other things up, now I can see in one multi-stream, I can see you guys on Twitch and YouTube. So that's kind of cool. I had never been able to see that before. Yep. But I still like to, so there's a weird thing. I still like to see what's happening on the stream. I've always had a second, because I have 3 monitors, so I use the other monitor to watch the stream. But I guess I won't have to do that anymore if it's just going to be like that. Oh, anyway, so let me pop myself back up. You guys might have noticed I'm not using my green screen a lot. It is still 113. It's going to be 113 today in Phoenix. It is wildly hot still for the end of September. So I'm hoping summer will eventually break. Jeez. Yeah. Yeah, Traffic King. I just today I started integrating them so I can see them both together, and it's fine. It'll be fine for now. But yeah, I normally would have 2 as well on my other screen. So. Oh, I see what you're saying. A separate device, like somebody will be able to watch. Yeah, that's interesting too. Yeah, I've seen some interesting different things. The one thing that it'll be weird for me to get used to here is I see 56 total viewers in here, but like only 49 on Twitch. So it's like it's giving me an aggregate, but not in the way that like I'm used to seeing. So that's fine. It doesn't matter that much. Guys, we got a Discord. You guys can go hang out in Discord. We got a Ranger. We've got Labs. You guys can go hang out. If the one thing I told you about today that you remembered was Killer Coda, I think that would be the best thing I could give you, because Killer Coda is just, it's got all this stuff where people are trying to show you how to do things for free, and the labs themselves are free. Okay, except for the fact that you have to give them an email, and they've never tried to sell me anything. They've never anything, so I think they're great. These guys run. This is run on the back end of the same type of killer shell that gets you ready for all your Linux Foundation certs. So it's the same guy, Kim Woosterkamp, that runs them. You can get in a Slack. It's super easy to get in a Slack, but there's all kinds of good stuff going on in there. Cap locks doesn't work when entering a password on Linux. It should, Robodom. Cap lock should still work for you. It should, anyways. All right, let's go back up here. All right, let's go find. So here's our notes, and here's our system, and what else do we have to do today? I don't really have any plans. I've got 3 hours until Linux course. I'm all ready. I've done everything. put everything together. Did we? Oh, we rebooted those machines, but did we watch them come back up? This is a problem. You shouldn't do this. What I did was I left these servers down. You should never reboot a bunch of servers like that without coming back and checking them. So let me make sure that all the servers came up clean. That was my bad. So 28 minutes. Yeah, so all the servers have been up. Probably lost all those connections in. So anybody that was doing anything should be able to do that. Yeah. Yeah, Robodom, if you're able to get in, you should be good. I do need to reset that password today. I've been resetting the password and then re-releasing it to you guys every time we have a meeting. So we'll go in there. Oh, Street Track, you're out in Hawaii? Nice. I'm going to be in Hawaii at the end of next month. I've never been to Hawaii before, but they're sending me out there. I'm training some people on a system that we built for the government. Yeah. It's for the U.S. government, basically. Yeah, so... By the way, I don't see any red there, so that means all my systems are up. You'll note that Linux, Ansible, when it runs a job, it just shotguns out to as many as of the number of forks that you have, and then it comes back in whatever order they respond. So Rocky 2, and then 1, and then 3, and then 4, and then 5, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Now that's all in order, but the first two are not in order, and that's going to change. Yeah, Robodom, the wife's coming with me, actually. The boss was like, hey, just bring the wife out and then just hang out with her at night. And I was like, okay. So she's gonna have fun. We're going to be on... it ends up being... Hold on. I forget the name of it. It's going to be one of the bigger islands. I think it's technically Honolulu. I think that's where it's going to be. I think we're going to be on... I gotta make sure I say this with that, because I'm not, certain things you don't say about projects. Hold on, let me see if I can find, go check over here. It is gonna be on, Okay. But where is it? It's in Hawaii. It's on Maui. But, yeah, okay, it's Maui. I knew all that stuff. I'm trying to find, without... Oh, Kihei? K-I-H-E-I? K-I-H-E-I. Do you guys know that? I don't know any of the things, but that's where it is. Which, hold on, I'm on Google right now. Which looks like that's on Maui. Yeah, okay, that's Maui. Okay. Yeah, so I'm there. I do have a top secret clearance, but it's lapsed, so I don't really use it anymore. But it wouldn't be hard to get it back. You just have to go through the process again. I would never go through. This is a personal thing for me, and other people may be different. I would never go through a interview again. Like if they were like, "Hey, we need you to get a top secret clearance, and we need you to go ahead and do the what's it called? There's a polygraph interview you have to." I would never do that again. I'd be like, "Nope, I'm comfortable. I'm good where I'm at." Because I hated the process. It's not a fun process. Like the interviewer has to do certain things to you, whether they like you or not, and it is not a fun process. Like the way they talk to you and the way they act, and I did not like it. So, yeah. So, anyways, that's something to think about. All right, so that's interesting. I guess I can close down. I gotta figure out. Yeah, I'll just leave that up there. All right. So what do we want to do then? I can hop off of here and just, in 3 hours we'll do our Linux group, or we could work on some stuff. I'll let you guys decide over on the Twitch side. I always let you guys do a poll. And what do we want to do? What next? And I'll say Linux Labs, AWS Talks, like I've got talks prepared for AWS security stuff. What do we want to do? More Linux, more about Linux system class. We'll call that more Linux system administration. There we go. And I'll give you guys 10 minutes. So you guys can decide what you want to do on that. Unfortunately, only people on the YouTube side or on the Twitch side can do that. But it should take your votes. I think it gives me the votes in real time. Maybe not. I might have to refresh that. Yeah, Hawaii should be a nice work trip. I'm just going to be in there hanging out, doing... yeah, I'm going to be training people. I've got a bunch of training that I've been putting together. I've got 4 days to show people how to do the hardware, the software, the system, and then, like, just the operational maintenance of running the system. Shaft on the YouTube said, do you think IT help desk assisting the infrastructure team at a quant high-frequency trending firm is a good opportunity? Yeah, if you are doing zero in tech, anything in tech would be better. Now, a big part of that help desk thing is probably going to be you're going to be dealing with a lot of problems. You're going to be dealing with a lot of frustrated people. So I wouldn't want to live there very long. But I mean, you know, doing a year or two, especially if you're early on in your career, would probably be fine. Could I go work help desk now? I'd probably lose my shit too much. Like I wouldn't be able to handle it, you know, like I'd be mad too often. So like you gotta understand like what you're willing to do and that kind of stuff. But do I think it's a good opportunity? If you said, Scott, I can't describe, like if I were to just pull up something like this, right? If I just said like, if I just pulled up something like this and I said, can you tell me a little about, that's not going to be good. Let's just go grab any one of these. Open image, new tab. Is that better? Yeah. If I just pulled this up right now, right? And I said, tell me a little bit about what you know about this network right here. And again, I'm not trying to shame anybody or anything like that. But what I'm saying is if you go, I don't know, I never ever seen anything like that. I'd say, well, you're probably pretty early on in your career and you might want to go spend a little time doing that kind of stuff. So you're doing quality assurance and F500 performance testing. I want to get an infrastructure. I have 1 year of grad left from uni. Nice. Yeah, Chef. I always tell people, because like I deal with college students a lot because I've been teaching for 16 years. I tell my college students, you're kind of, when you're still in college, unless you're already, like I was already at like my career path when I went to college because I had just gotten out of the Army and I got into being a land tech for a school district. And so I was already doing stuff in like my tech career that I kind of wanted to go that path. But if you're not there yet while you're in college, you have a good amount of, you have a good amount of time. The other thing to do too is like, when you look at a resume, you only got about a page typically. For most people aren't going to look at more than a page. Most of you guys probably know that. If you don't, I'm telling you, most people aren't going to look at it for more than a page. They're not going to go scroll through other pages. They'll scroll through other pages when you're mid-career and you're telling them a lot of stuff that's important and they want that. But early on and late on in your career, you're going to be at about one page, right? So you got to think about what you want to put on that one page. You're getting your degree done, so your degree is probably going to be near the top. But you've got time now to work on the two other things mainly that I would say should be near the top are either your work experience, if you're already working, or like certificates, if you're getting certificates. So like, how are you moving around your resume to show that kind of stuff? So anyways, where I'm going, I just thought I'd pull this up and say, do I understand what's going on in this environment? Do I understand why these are different networks on here? Because this is a router and routing's occurring in between here, but that could be irrelevant if these are on the same VLAN, right? And then, but you know, there's probably going to be some cross connects here. There's all kinds of stuff going on here probably, right? But the point is, you got to kind of understand some of this on the networking side. And this you might say, oh, I'm a Linux guy, I'm never going to need the network. No Linux server exists in a vacuum. The Linux servers connect to the network, so we got to know the networking side of it. In fact, last week in the Linux Systems Administration course, we hammered a lot of the networking stuff. I just showed you guys the tools, and I just showed you how the things work. You have to spend some time assimilating and understanding that stuff, obviously. But how's our voting going? What's next? It looks like more Linux Systems Admin. I wonder if anybody put points in that. I can see a breakdown of the voting, but some people did AWS talks. So, you know what? I would take. Nah, I can't. I can't really do. I was gonna say I could allow the YouTube guys to vote too, but I wouldn't have a way. I wouldn't have a way to undo that. So, I wouldn't have a way to push that up in there. So, Linux Systems Administration has 15. So that sounds like that's probably what's gonna win right now. All right. So here's what we'll do. Linux in a vacuum. Mint, I don't know if you know, but early on in my career, I worked with satellites for about 5 years. Most vacuums probably have Linux. That's true. That's fair. I think that is a fair statement. Let me. So if we're going to do Linux Systems Administration, if that's sounding like what it's going to be, I go into my ProLUG presentations, and I have a thing on just Linux Systems Administration, which is different than the course. Right, this is a different talk than all of our coursework stuff. Get that out of the way. We'll probably move this over like this, then, and then we might be able to look at it like that while we work on our systems over here. So I will give you guys then a lab. I'll give you guys a link to go into, and then we'll be in a lab doing some stuff. I want to be a programmer, but the problem is that I'm currently in medical school and can't find time for it. Yeah, I could see that taking some time, right? Med school is important to focus on. Bart Simpson said, "What time does sysadmin course start today?" It's in about 2.5 hours. If you go to Discord, right? Let me show you guys this real quick while people are still voting. There's Ranger Street. If you go to Discord and you pop into the event, and then you say you see it, you'll see it in your time. So, and then Rizushi said, backtracking a little bit, where on earth do I look for an IT job? I've been all over LinkedIn, Seek Government, and there's nothing else I should look at. I would do Dice. I like Dice. I've always thought Dice was a good, like, you know, finger on the pulse kind of feeling what's going on. Traffic King, I have never played with time triggered Ethernet. I don't even know what that is. Maybe I just don't know what the concept is. Yeah, I don't know what that is, unfortunately. But the Linux System Administration course is starting in about 2.5 hours today. So that was a question. If you miss it, Unit 3 will be recorded tomorrow morning. Well, tomorrow morning for me. So in about, I don't know, 20 hours or so. And then we've got, if you're like, oh, Scott, I didn't even know there was a Linux Systems Administration course. I need to back up and start over. Here's the playlist for it right here. And we're going to be doing week 3 today. So if you've been missing them, week 3. And then we go there. Now, the projects is where you go find things. So here's all the Unit 3 work. So all the things that you'll be doing for this week. Here's your discussions for this week that you guys should be posting in. I'm the only one that's posted in there yet. So there's a little more work. We're going to be getting more and more kind of in depth. Also, somebody said, love to see the more educational channels. Sick in the Mind. Yeah, hopefully this stuff's useful. My goal here is to get you guys doing this stuff and doing that. Yeah. Wait, there's a question. Are the notes that you take also in Discord? Yeah, so Jack, when I do different notes, they go in different channels, yeah. So all the stuff that my PowerPoint doesn't go up in there only because I don't think my PowerPoint's that great yet, right? It's not that far along yet. I need to make it a little better. But stuff like the last week we've been talking about like jobs and getting into the different job sections. So down here, I have updated from last night's stream. Here's all the things. So what we did was we went to a job board and we found a bunch of requirements. So here's some actual job board requirements. Somebody said install, configure, and maintain Linux operating systems. And I said you need to understand how to install and update with like app. And then we were talking about it and going through it as we did. And then monitor system performance and troubleshoot issues related to server hardware. We're going to do this here in a second. Actually, hold on. We're almost done voting right now, but it looks like you guys want to do more Linux Systems Administration. So vote on the Twitch side if you want to change what we're doing next. But implement and maintain security measures to protect Linux systems from unauthorized access, malware, and other security threats. and then I talked about these different things that you can do, right? And then we're hitting these different pieces. Like last week, we kind of hammered SE Linux, but I really just kind of showed it to you guys, and then I made you go read about it, because then you can think about applying it in your labs and stuff. So it's networking based, using rockets and satellites. I heard it talk from Blue Origins and SpaceX. Yeah, networking's definitely being used in a lot of that stuff. Yeah. I used to do downstream. I used to catch everything that came out of satellites. So that's what I used to use Lustre for. So, all right. Looks like, okay, Linux Systems Administration 1, and it looks like tomorrow picked that. So hopefully I'll make this useful to you guys then, because I don't want you guys to just be wasting your channel points for no reason. But anyways, so that was one job. Here's a second job. And then we just kept going through a bunch of different jobs, and I just kept giving you stuff to go read about and study and try to get better at, right? Because I mean, what we do as engineers is like a knowledge-based thing. Systems administration, also knowledge-based, but it's really focused on your troubleshooting and knocking out problems, right? That's where we start a lot of our career. So anyways, you guys are welcome to hang out down in Discord. We just hit 2,800 people. It's getting kind of wild in there. But I'm going to link this to you guys. I'm going to pin this on the... Actually, I'll just drop this in here. It'll just go on both sides for you guys. That's the lab, right? And you guys can work along in the lab with me if you want. But what we're going to do, we're not going to do any of the actual lab project. It's just a little playground. And we're going to have 2 fully operating systems. So if I SSH over to node 01, I say, host name, and then I exit host name. I've got 2 machines, control plane and node 01. There's 2 machines. I can, if I were still doing the Excalidraw, I could just have them both drawn next to each other, right? And then this is a basic Linux systems administration concept from for ProLUG for earlier this year, I think. Okay, so we come over here, and the first thing is there's a bunch of administrative tasks that you just kind of have to learn how to do. We've talked through these before, but powering on and off servers, like you could just reboot this server right here by typing reboot, but you're in a virtual machine, and if you realize that if you do that, you're probably going to kill the whole environment and have to start over. You could do a scenario, check your systems for the latest cups. Man, Daft Duck, I'll tell you what, man, that cups thing, that had me chuckling. I can't believe... All right, I don't know, man. I don't know. Like, who's running cups, man? But, okay. I guess cups is there on some systems or something. Good hardening practice to turn off stuff you're not using, I guess. Yeah. The 9.9 hype. Well, so it is 9.9, so it is very vulnerable and it is a problem. But here's the thing. None of us are running that professionally, or you shouldn't be. If you are, you shouldn't be exposing it externally. I don't know, man. All right, anyways. How do we... So we power off and on servers. You can do reboots. You can watch things. I always tell you, if you're doing systems work and you don't have a console, you're always playing with fire, because you need an out-of-channel way to get back to that server where you can turn it on or off. This is always true of systems. You should know how you can get into a system remotely before you go booting a system. Because again, I work out of Phoenix, Arizona. I work on servers in Hawaii. I work on servers in Ohio. I work on servers that are in Austin, Texas. I had to go out there a couple weeks ago. Some of you remember. I work on servers out of, let me think. That's all right now. Oh, NOAA, so Virginia and Arizona as well. So I work on servers all over the place. If I do something to a server, like I turn off an interface, I better have some hands in the data center that can go kick that box over for me. Or I better have a tool that I know how to use to get into the server in another way, another method, right? So that's a very important thing for powering on and off servers. And then we talk about maintaining inventory in a system. You have to know how to add, change, and remove inventory from a system. So if I were to just like VI on the server, root hosts, and make servers, maybe control plane and node 01, and then I cat root hosts. Now I've got a little inventory file. Those are the only 2 nodes I know about right now. But now I've got a basic little inventory that if I install Ansible, I can feed Ansible that root host inventory and hit my nodes with Ansible ad hoc commands. And later on, I could do real commands with Ansible. We have a whole set of labs with the Professional Linux Users Group that shows you guys how to use Ansible if you want. But for right now, let's just say I wanted to have an inventory and be able to hit all of my servers and know what their state was. Some of you guys just saw me do this in the home lab a few minutes ago. But we're going to do it, you know, see that they all rebooted, right? See that their uptime's good. But we're going to do it over here right now. So give it a second here. I'm going to clear the screen here for a second when it's done. Come on, server. Come on. You're embarrassing me in front of my friends here. All right, there we go. Clear history so you guys can see the history of what I've done. Cat root hosts out. And I'm going to say Ansible. And I'm going to say servers, because that's the host group I want to hit. From the inventory file root hosts, I want to use the module shell, and the argument uptime. So that's the command we're going to give to it. And this is going to go hit both of those servers. Brad has documentation for cups on Rel 9. I guess so. I mean, shit. Man. I don't know. Man. All right. I guess everybody just installs everything nowadays. So this thing then says installing and updating software. Do we know how to configure repositories? Do we know how to configure software to work within our cluster or whatever? Well, we just installed Ansible. But how did Ansible get installed on our system? We can go look at, we do a cat on varlog, apt. And then apt has a history log. And we can go look, and here's the command that we gave. And here's an interesting thing to think about with a software installer. When we're using apt is our package manager inside of Debian-based systems, right? In this case, Ubuntu. All I did was say install Ansible, but why did it install all of this stuff? Anybody know? Like, I only told it to do this one thing, but it did all this other stuff. Seems kind of problematic, right? Because I only wanted to install the one thing, and I didn't want to introduce all these other potential vulnerabilities. But now there's all these other things. Yeah, it's the recommended or the package dependencies. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. So Ansible needs all these other things to work correctly. Yeah, so that's something to think about. Like, hey, this is one of the reasons too, by the way, that we don't give everybody root, because people will just install packages and not ever even think about what they're doing to the underlying system and the security baseline. So, you know, you wonder why, like, people that have root in a system and our administrators like lock everything down and hold it tightly in their fists. And this is why. We don't want to we don't want you to be able to shoot yourself in the foot with the bad things you do on your system, which in this case, this is fine, but I just want you to know that you can see what's happened in the system. It's very important. All right, so we got Ansible from somewhere, and where our packages are defined here on these type of systems is etc apt. And then in apt, we've got our sources .list. And if there's anything special that was added here, and also here. So here's our sources list. And I can grep out of sources list for all the things that are interesting to me. And I'm just going to show you the file real quick. I'm going to cat sources.list. And there's a lot of crap in there. So I'm going to clear the screen and ls again. And I'm going to grep, and I'm going to say remove, because I don't want to see when at the front there's a £, sources list. So show me that file, but pull all that bullshit notes out of it, right? That's what I just did. Because did you guys see what it looked like a second ago? It was like a big old mess. So I want it to be a little cleaner looking like this. So Mint, I don't do a lot with apt, but I can tell you that oh man, what's going on with my voice today? I can tell you this. If no, it'll work. It doesn't need the -e. if you, so the question was, understanding the difference between recommended and suggested. What I would tell you is when you do your apt, just take off the -y and don't allow anything to happen until you're ready. Because if you do this just like this, you just do apt install Ansible, if there's any dependencies or any recommended or any of those other types of things, it will ask you before you install them, right? And then, yeah, if we wanted to go see, we could man apt and maybe look for recommended, right? Maybe we just start looking through here. There's definitely ways to change the behavior of apt, right? How do we install? How do we reinstall things? There's a bunch of ways that we can change the behavior. I do not know all of them. What I would just tell you here, Mint, is my process for this, if I were trying to figure that out, is typically I always have the ability to just deploy a server like that. So I always have an ability to just deploy servers in my environments, right? And in the case of our other system, I can just destroy and redeploy a node, right? So what I would do here is I would install something and I would use some option, maybe like putting it into a cache instead of doing it directly to an installer. And then I would go look at like what it did and all that kind of stuff. And I would modify it and then I would run it, because this is an old saying in engineering, one test is worth 1,000 expert opinions. And I would run it and I would see what it did. I'd go check the log, I'd blow the machine away, and I'd bring it back and I'd change the command. And look, I'm not just randomly shooting out in the night hoping to hit something. I'm still looking here and trying to do the right command. But then when I find the right command, I stop that process of, you know, it's like a fast reset. You have to, as engineers, you find ways to get like a fast reset so that you can fail quickly, right? And then when you failed the last time, it's like that old joke about, hey, where were your keys? I saw you were looking for your keys the other day. Oh, they were in the last place I looked for them. Well, I hope so. I hope when you found them, you stopped looking for them, right? Well, this is like an old joke, right? Of course, it's the last thing. Yeah, so no install recommends. That's, yeah, so there's a bunch of different things, and I don't know them all, right? I only keep enough in my head to do what I need to do, and then I'll figure things out, and then I'll document it so that the next time it doesn't happen. But I've never run into that. Like, I've never run this professionally. Like, I've never run Ubuntu professionally, so I'm just using Ubuntu because it's in the lab here. I do almost all exclusively Red Hat and Rocky. Now, Rocky's been coming into its own, kind of, so that's not to say that Alma's not good. Alma's perfectly fine. The problem is Alma, you need to have like a corporation behind something if you want to, or you have to have somebody to pay for support if you want to be able to do things from the government. I don't know if any of you guys know that or if you've messed with that, but on the government side of things, you do need to have the ability to wring somebody's neck about something, to send up a help desk ticket and call somebody to help you from the all the way back to the engineers that built the thing. So Debian based with Kali, nice. Yeah, there's good stuff there. Sick. We have a lot of guys over on the Discord that have a lot of those different types of certs as well, so that's always good. Rocky is backed by CIQ. They're the same people that do Werewolf, the tool that I use a lot. So I don't know what Alma's backed by. Alma may be backed by something, I don't know, but Rocky for sure is, and I'm using it on government projects now. In fact, I just deployed a Rocky box to a big project for it was a Dell build that we did, Dell build to a customer. So we've been working, my company works a lot with Dell, and then we do a lot of projects. In fact, one of the things that I think I told you guys this, like when you do something well, like it's a blessing and a curse. Now you get to do a whole bunch more of it, but also so you got a lot of work, but on the other side of it, now you got to do a whole bunch more of it, right? And one of the things that I've done pretty well, I think, well, other people think I've done it well too, was all this security stuff, right? This is the DISA Stig viewer. This is free. You can go download this off the internet, and you go and look at how like Red Hat Linux 9 works with its that's on 188. Hold on, move off of the 462 possible Stig compliance checks. and then you stig a server to a certain compliance spec, and then you give your ISSO, your Information System Security Officer, a report of this, and then he looks at it and goes, okay, yeah, that's good, or you need to fix that, you need to fix that. Anyways, I did this on a few systems recently, and now there's a whole bunch more work for this coming into my company, and I'm like, oh. So it's good, like you've got a job, but then it's bad because you're doing like very tedious, meticulous work. But anyways, you got to respond to incidents, system level failures, security incidents. So a lot of times with system level failures, we look for what used to work. We compare it to other systems. If we've got a running system here, one of the things we might do is, we've got a network down or something. We might do IP config. IP adder. I don't know what the hell I'm thinking. An IP adder shows us a bunch of information. An IPBR adder will show us briefly what information's there. And maybe I expect to see like an InfiniBand device here. Now I don't see it. So now I got to go, well, shoot. The InfiniBand device isn't working because I don't see it here. So I know all the way end to end, not working. So where did it break? Well, there's a driver called Mellanox OFED before that. I can go see if the driver's up. I've got some tools, like if it's InfiniBand, I have IBstat and IBstatus, and I can look at those commands to see if the interface is being seen by the system. But then even before that, I can see if the kernel driver is loaded for that Mellanox OFED. Even before that, I can see, well, is there just like PCI errors? Are we getting errors in the log as this system came up? So I might do like a dmessage and then grep, like, I know InfiniBand's not on the system, but like for IB, and I would see if there was any InfiniBand. Now there's no InfiniBand, so maybe I knew it was like IB0 because that tends to be the first InfiniBand device. And then I would see, well, there's no InfiniBand on here. Why not? Then I might look for error. Were there any errors as the system came up? There was some type of error that happened, and maybe this is related to my system. It's not, but let's just say it was. I can also go look in LSPCI maybe to see all the PCI devices, and maybe I don't see the device here whereas I normally would, right? So then if this kind of stuff happens, then I might, and I've done all my other checks already. I'm walked all the way back to like the hardware interfacing with the kernel at this point. I don't see that device here, but on my other system, so I SSH to another similar system, Node 01 maybe, I do an LSPCI over there, and maybe I see what's there, and then I start to try to figure out what's wrong. So there's a bunch of different tasks, and one of the things I tell you guys is administration differs from engineering in that when you're checking a problem in administration, almost always it was working before you got there. Somebody set it up. Somebody sent you a ticket because there was an expectation of a thing working a certain way, and it's not now. So you almost always have some kind of documentation to go look at. How was it working? Not always, though. Not in some companies. And then you should have sometimes other systems that are similar that you can look at how they were built. Sometimes you have, just changes in the network or changes in the system that you can go look at. But my point is, a lot of times with administration tasks, we're trying to get something back working. With engineering tasks, a lot of times we're building something new, so we don't have any of that. We're out looking on, we're digging through the docs for something that we're building the first time, and we don't have that luxury of assuming that something had once worked. Hopefully that kind of makes sense to you guys. All right, so that's administration tasks, and then we come down a little bit, and there is a specific kind of order to how we look at things. We focus on the big four, which is CPU, memory, disk, and network. Those are the four big things that are going to be utilized inside of a Linux system, right? CPU, memory, disk, network. There are other things that occur. There are other things that you have to care about, but these are the big four when we come to what it was called our use model later. But these are the things that we can do to them. We can observe things. Observe things are safe. We don't break things. Like I don't think that this should break anything. I don't think this should break anything. I don't use top very often, but shouldn't break anything. Free-m shouldn't break anything. Uptime shouldn't break anything. We can observe the system. mpstat if we have, apt-y install sysstat. We might need that here in a little bit. So these are observing the system. as a systems administrator, and if you're going to get into one of these roles, you have to be very, very comfortable and confident in how to check what's going on inside of a system. Everybody does this stuff differently, but there's things that I do to observe any system I ever get on. So you call me in the middle of the night and you say, Scott, there's something wrong with node 01. I would go to that node. If I get in it, that's good. That means I was able to just hop in. If I can't get to node 01 like that, like the node's not responding, I would never ping until I had tried SSH, because if I SSH, I just get in and I've lost nothing. But if I ping first, then I wasted some time maybe. Does that kind of make sense? But I would ping node 01 if I needed to. He's on the network, and he's got his networking properly working to get him back out the gateway back to me wherever I'm at. So, okay, that's good. One of the things that I would do, if I couldn't reach the node, I would go to my out-of-channel management, whatever that is. Maybe it's something like this. And I would go physically see, is that node up or down? I know that Rocky 1 is not node 01, but I'm just using it as an example. And I would see if it's up. And if it is up, I would log into it at the console. First thing I would do, IP adder, and see if his network's up. Next thing I would do is I would ping his gateway. I would do an IPR to see his route. He thinks his default route is 192.168.200.1. I would ping 192.168.200.1. Make sure he could connect to that. He probably wouldn't be able to. If he wasn't able to get to this, there's probably something busted. And then I would ping all the way back to this device if I knew what it was. In my home lab, that would be like 11.65, which is my system doesn't respond to ping because I've got the firewall on, but that's my home device. So then I would test if I could ping out, right? But these are the ways that I look at it. By the way, if I get in the node and it's up, the 100% first thing I ever do is uptime. This node's only been up an hour. Well, I got called out at 3 a.m. and I found out that from the NOC, right, our Network Operations Center, that the system's been down for the last hour, you know, in our alerting, and they finally called me out because, hey, might be a problem. So I go and I look at it and I'm like, yeah, you're right, that system rebooted an hour ago. Now I've got to figure out, like, why did it reboot? And I'll tell you right now, like, a lot of times, I've had this so many times in my career that it's like a trope for me. I'll get on the call and all the software guys will already be there, and I'll be like, what the hell are all the software guys? Like the guys that work on this, like, development or prod environment. I'm like, how'd you get a hold of all these guys? Why didn't you just call their on-call? Oh, they were all up. All right. What? Uncle. I said on call. On dash call. Okay. I didn't say call their uncle. Anyways, so they go and they're all on, and you're like, what the hell are you guys all doing on? Were you guys touching the system? They go, no. And then you do a last with more on it, and you see all of their logins to that system. Guys, this has happened to me so much that it's like, I'm not even joking. This has just happened to me a lot. And I'm like, you guys were all in the server at 2 a.m.? When it went down, when it crashed, I see it crashed, right? That, like, the system crashed. You'll see crash. If there's a crash kernel, it'll be over here. You'll see crash across the board, right? And I'll be like, huh, you guys just all happen to be on? And they'll be like, no, we were doing a change. And I'm like, oh, man. So, like, I don't try to hammer people. I'm not like, was there a change record, any of that kind of stuff. But I will ask them, like, what were you doing? All right, we've got a snapshot. We snapshot our boxes maybe every day or once a week. I can take you back to a snapshot. Are you going to lose your data? And if they've been pushing it up, like most of our corporate models are to push data up out of the servers, that's not a big deal. We just rebuild the server. If it is a big deal, like maybe they pushed bad code or they broke their own thing because they were doing a deployment outside of a window, then they might be like, no, we're really going to try to get this working. I'm like, all right, well, then this isn't an emergency, but also you should have been doing that in dev, you know. You shouldn't be doing that kind of shit in prod, right? But then also at that point, it's like, well, then there's nothing else for the system administrator to do because, you know, the system came up to whatever level it was expected to. I might start their services for them again. Like if, let's say their web didn't start or something like that, I might do that. But then I'd have to investigate probably the next day the root cause analysis. You don't ever, so when you're called out late at night and people start talking about like what caused this and this and this and this, that is not germane to the conversation, guys. The most important thing we do is get the system back running. Once the system's running, then we can go worry about what the RCA or the root cause analysis was. Root cause analysis during an incident is noise. People are like, what causes? We need to figure out what caused it. That's not actually true. We need to get it back running. And some people might argue, what if you get it running again and then it crashes again because you never found the root cause? That is a different thing. And now we've got it. Now we do have to do that because that's part of the incident. But originally, like when if a tire goes flat, you get the tire back on the car and you get the car moving again. You don't go, investigating until it's like the third tire that blew on that one road, and then you're like, maybe we need to get off of this road, right? Anyways, all right. So observe, we benchmark so we can load test the system. But if we load test the system, it's important to understand the difference between a load test and a stress test. I've told you guys this before, but there's a huge difference between a load test and a stress test. And I say caution, tests on a production server will cause problems. We do not typically test in production. In fact, I would never test in production. All right. Benchmarking gets its own section later, and then we tune out. And when we change things, like I'm going to show you guys this tool later, Tune2FS, and you can use it. You can just use, we'll use dump. Well, we need to look at a disk. So dev, what's the disks we got in here? Block ID. I always forget what they have. Oh, VDA 14. All right. So let's just go look at like, dev VDA 1. Oh, I'd hope if I spelled it right. In here, you can see all of this information listed out about the file system. You see when it was originally created. You can see the last time it was mounted. You see all kinds of stuff about this file system. But the Tune2FS can also change things about this file system. But they can't do it when it's live. So if I do a df-h on /, and I see that that's dev VDA, and then I use a Tune2FS, and maybe I just do like a head on it to see the first 10, I can't change this while this is mounted. I have to unmount it to do work on it. Let's see, hold on, Robodom, you said, do you feel when performing root cause analysis, company will give you time to investigate, troubleshoot, and document your findings? Well, Robodom, they should, and if they don't, then here's the thing, right? Because that's an interesting point. Let's say it's going to take you 5 hours to do that, and then on Monday everything's afire, so you can't get to doing that root cause analysis, and then it just gets put away and it's in the back of your notebook and it never gets done. That is a risk that, as an engineer, this is what I do. I let management know, and then I let management know the constraint. And this is what the constraint is. I was told on Saturday night when I got called out at 2 a.m. that this was going to be the most critical thing on Monday morning. Now the most critical thing is getting the coffee pot Linux integration working for cups. I'm just kidding. Nobody should be running cups ever. I don't know why anybody ever was. In the last 25 years, I've never seen it on. But okay, but anyways, neither here nor there. Well, I've never seen it on being used. Anyways, but that's over hundreds of thousands of systems. But anyways, fuck. Now you got to tell your boss, I've got 8 hours today. 8 hours of individual contributor work. You're taking 2 of them for us to do meetings, so I've got 6 hours of focused work. I need 5 to get this root cause analysis done, maybe more. But you're telling me this thing is the new priority. Which do we do? And then I never think about it again, guys. Because here's the thing. As an engineer, you shouldn't lose sleep over what needs to get done. You should just be doing things. And the management should be directing you, kind of like making you go as like a little herd of cattle to work on the things that they want. I know most engineers don't want to think of themselves as cattle, but if you're an engineer sitting around like letting your hair go gray for like worried about business processes and stuff, I think maybe you want to go be a project manager or manager. But individual contributors contribute individually to things. Mint, there's no reason to have run cups, so like I don't even know why it's still on systems. It's the common Unix printing service, right? Or something like that. It's common Unix printing service. But who's been running a printer off of Linux? Any of you? Like ever? I've never seen it. And some people were telling me, well, on our desktops, and I'm like, yeah, but you're not running the print service off your desktop. You're connecting to some other print service and letting that thing run. Yeah, so yeah, no, cups just had a 9.9 Mint. It needs to be patched immediately or turned off in your environment. Yeah. Really? I don't know. I don't know, man. I saw it blow up on Twitter, and I was like, or X or whatever. And I was like, I just put it back down and went back to sleep. Man, all right. I guess. People are saying it's running standard on the desktop. I guess. All right. So we keep going. This is how we do the use method, right? So for every resource, we check the utilization, saturation, errors. Now, when I say for every resource, I don't mean you're just checking things all the time. What I mean is if somebody's having a problem or something's not working right on your server, you go look at how utilized that is. So how might you do that? So let's do a df-h. Let's just look at one thing. df-h, and right here we can see how utilized, because utilization is always a percentage between 0 and 100. So if I say free-m and I see that I've got about 2 gigs of memory and my free is about 13 point, or that's 135 megs, right? That is about 6.75% of memory free. So we're using about 93 and some change, something like that. Well, that's used and buffer cache, right? Because buffer cache counts as used. So we're using, over 90% of the system's memory. But that's utilization. There's no saturation until you hit 0 left. So when your free is at 0, now you've gotten into a saturation situation. You're using 100% of your resource, and your saturation is as a queue starts to form to wait to get at that memory, or to wait to get to your CPU. That's here, right? This is your wait time for your CPU compared to the number of processors you have. We have one processor. If that goes over 1, processors are starting to wait. You also have another tool, vmstat. Vmstat will also show you that in this R right here. R will show you the number. If R is greater than 1 and you have one processor, you will have processes waiting for threads. That's how that reads. You can go read man on vmstat to prove that to yourself if you want. You can go look at what does R mean. Number of runnable processes running or waiting for runtime, right? And I actually have that. Actually, that comes up here a little bit in the talk. But then you've got errors. When things start to have to wait for resources too long, then you start to log out to errors, right? So maybe you need to tail-f on var log syslog or something like that, and then you start to watch for errors to occur for your systems. Mint, the most important thing is to turn off the service. So that's amazing to me that cups is still. Somebody pointed out, like, I don't know, you guys might have to go look at this, but somebody on the stream yesterday went and looked it up, and they said cups hasn't been updated in 5 years. So that's an interesting thing. Yeah, that's true. I mean, look, we do layered defense anyways, right? We're always harping on layered defense. It's the same thing with shell shock. Everybody told me shell shock's 100%. Shell shock was a 10, if you guys don't remember. If you were exposing bash to the internet, shell shock was a 10. And they're like, and it's been like that for 20 years, and people have been, and I'm like, but nobody exposes bash directly. You have to come in through SSH. And they're like, yeah, but once they come in from a real known user and bypass SSH, then bash is completely vulnerable. And you're like, okay. But it's not so critical that like everybody can just walk in the front of our servers. Shell shock was never that bad. People thought it was, and it literally wasn't. All right, it was a 10 though, but it was only a 10 if you were doing ridiculously crazy stuff. Well, yeah, if you had bash exposed through Apache. Yeah, it 100% you had to have bash open, and it just was silliness. So I've never seen that exposed through I don't know. But anyway, so the use method is also used in observing things. All right, so here's some of the tools that we've got, right? We've got uptime, and it shows when the system was last booted. It's useful in knowledge or knowing if something has brought the system down or not recently. So I use this often. If you call me out in the middle of the night, I always do an uptime to see how long a box has been up. So then our load averages are 1 minute, 5 minutes, and 15 minutes. This is useful for seeing what's going on over here. Yeah. How long has that been a bad idea? Oh man. Anyways, so here's our load average, 3, 1, and that. So what this looks like is it's a sliding window of 1 minute, 5 minutes, and 15 minutes. So you're going to see the most severe spikes in the 1 minute window if something is happening in an acute fashion. When I say acute, I mean right now, as opposed to chronic, which is like a long thing. So if I come to a server and they're like, hey, this web server is under a tremendous load, and I only see a high load number here, and I see lower numbers back here, that means that it's happening in an acute fashion and only being seen in these smaller windows. But if I see, if I get to that box and this is maxed, everything's maxed, all three of them, then what I know is over the 1, the 5, and the 15-minute windows, it's high. So this has been going on for some time, at least the last 15 minutes. And then I can go back and I can look. There's tools like SAR. There's tools like Node Exporter that should be exporting stuff to Prometheus anyways, so you can see what's going on in your systems. And I can go and look and say, well, how long has this been high? Does my server go high every Friday afternoon when all the kids get off of school and are allowed to play video games because they don't have homework, and I happen to be a gaming company, and all my Linux servers kind of go high around that time? Well, I expect that, right? That's like something we expect to have happen. Also, interestingly enough, I have no idea what just happened there. Looks like we had, I don't know if that's like a follower thing or what, but thanks for the follows. Hopefully this stuff's useful to you. Yeah, I don't know what the heck that was, but if any of you guys know what that was, let me know. It didn't pop up in my system besides a follow, so hopefully this stuff's useful to you. Good indication of if problem is still going, or if we're late, we're getting there when it's already cleared. That's a thing that you might be able to see there. Bugs it. Yeah. I don't know, there's something weird going on. All right, but anyways, so we can use VMstat. VMstat's a pretty good tool. You can do VMstat 1.1, and every 1 second for one iteration it would run. And VMstat 1 like this could just run while we sit here and talk. And we could kick off a process. I could watch this and then tell my team, my dev team that called me up and said they were having a problem with their server. And I could say, go ahead and kick off that Java process you were about to run. Let's see what it does, because they say, oh, we're getting an out of memory error. And I could watch this. We could also have them doing maybe something to, watch their stack. I could watch their stack if I want, but the problem with Java is it's almost always like a black box what's happening inside of a Java machine on a system. So, but I could see right here, like when they ran out of memory, they're saying, hey, it always happens at exactly, 30 seconds in. And then I come here and I look and I don't see any memory problems. I don't see anything filling up. Maybe I start to see some swap fill up, and I come over here and then maybe I go look at it and I'm like, well, why is swap happening? Right? There's something weird going on swap. And then I go and maybe look at disk IO. I might say, okay, let's start it again. And I do like iostat-d for block devices. And I do that every 1 second. So now every 1 second, I just watch and I see, are we spiking our disk reads or writes off of maybe just VDA. I really just care about this one. These are just memory loop devices that are created. This is the only actual block device that I care about right here. But then I just keep an eye on it. And maybe that's too fast, so then I watch it like every 3 seconds or something. And I just say, yeah, let's see. And let's compare this. And then maybe I need to go into my Prometheus or Grafana probably and look at what type of monitoring do I have? Like, what's this historically been? Are we hitting higher now after patching? This actually happened to me a few years back. After patching, some behavior was changed. So there's two main stats. D will do block devices. Some people think it's disks, but it's actually devices. And C will do your CPU. If you don't explicitly give it one, it'll do both. So maybe you want to watch both. And you want to see, because, by the way, this is a thing that I've seen. What'll happen is your disks will go to higher than they can handle, and I/O will start to do huge I/O weight, and then that will immediately start to shoot up your CPU, because now your system is putting more blocks off to the side waiting for the I/O for the disk, and this is a way that you can kind of monitor and capture it. This is real time though, and I would highly recommend, if you're going to be doing this stuff professionally, this is fine for like little stuff. I would highly recommend you go build out something like this, right? Where you could then watch And you could say, all right, just in this little window here, go ahead for just this little block of time that we want to see, right? And this is the last day or so. I just want to see where my systems were spiking. Okay, go ahead and do it again, and then maybe I'll just watch in like the last few minutes. I can come up here and change this to just the last few minutes, last 5 minutes, and I can just see, okay, go ahead and spike that CPU. And we come over here. Let's go ahead and do it real quick. Let's go to my, oh, wrong box. Right box, but wrong window. So I come over here. Let's go out of werewolf. And let's go out of here. That's fine. And then we just do like stress. I don't know. Stress dash C4. And then we'll do like 180. So we'll do like 3 minutes. Oops. Oh, T. Dash T180. There we go. All right, so this will run high. And right here on my CPUs, I should see my CPU for my P01 Jump 1 box shoot up high. Right, so this thing's, we're going to watch this one node shoot high right here. It's also weird that one of my boxes isn't responding right now. That's a little scary. All right, I see that. You guys see that one shoot up right there, right here. There's a spike in memory or in CPU usage, not in memory usage. My memory's fine down there, but the CPU spike on this box was pretty high. Now, when this is done, that's going to drop back off or whatever. But the point is, I could then go and say, okay, we can correlate the start of your process to this, and then we could figure out. We'll go start to dig into what was it doing. We can go look at the process and see what the process was calling. We could see if, again, was it waiting for disk? Was it waiting for memory? Because almost always when CPU shoots up through the roof, something else is going on. In the exception of maybe they're just doing stuff that's very CPU heavy, but they shouldn't be using that on a box that they haven't properly tuned for it. Then you might ask them like, well, who helped you? Who helped you build that? And they're like, oh, we just asked for some box. We just asked for one of those little servers that you can hit a button and deploy. And it's like, and you're doing development work on that? Like, we have a whole team to support you with that. We should have built this out and tuned this box because you know that you need at least 8 CPUs and this box only has 1. Like, what the, you see what I'm saying? Like, there's stuff like this happens all the time. Things fall through the cracks. People don't know who to ask, whatever. And then it's like, all right, well, let's get you set up with a machine you should be using for this, right? Because you will 100% of the time do that to the server if you're using something that assumes it has 8 CPUs and you only have 1 or 2 CPUs on it. The smallest CPUs most companies deploy that I've seen lately is still like 2 right now. Nobody's doing 1. You can get those on Amazon, but I wouldn't use those for production workloads in any way. Right, those are more for like testing. You just want to test something out real quick. Watch, it's going to drop back down here in a second. All right. Also, I'm not going to be on too much longer because in 2 hours from right now, we're doing our Linux Systems Administration down in the Discord. You guys are welcome to hang out down there. Look here on the Discord. You've got there's 171 people. We had 90 the first day, and we had about 50 this last time. And it's just this Linux System Administration course. Talking about it's less of this stuff. This stuff's important, I think, but it's more of the. I want you guys to. This is going to be more of how to get into an operational role and how to work through this. So some of you guys have seen this diagram before, but like, how do you get from here and do this well, and then move over here to being like a systems engineer, right? That's what I want you guys to be comfortable doing. Okay. And yeah, so that should work. And then look, there's a whole bunch of stuff for you to start with. If you haven't started yet, you go to ProLUG projects, you go start up at unit 1, even though we're in unit 3, you just start blasting through all this stuff, right? Because we're on unit 3 starting today. And here's all the discussion posts that you should be doing. And then the work is right here. So there you go, boom. It's all free. Don't charge anything for it because I tell you guys all the time, when I finally find somebody that can knock me off my top position as Linux engineer, then I'll go retire and do something else. Flavabox, I don't think it's too late to start. I think you could start anytime you want. Yep. Just go hang out in the Discord and get started. You just go down to the projects and then find it. You can sign up for that event. It'll let you know when it's coming. So that's there. Yeah, super weird. All right, but anyways, thanks for the follows, guys. Hopefully this stuff's useful to you. On the it's funny, on the YouTube side, I also see, or in the Streamlabs now, I actually see the YouTube stuff as well. So when people subscribe, so that's kind of cool. So let's do this then. Let's go find somebody to raid, and it's coming up as follow alerts. Robodom, what I see is underneath my thing, I have this little mini feed, and normally I would see like bits and follows on Twitch, but now I'm seeing like subscriptions on YouTube as well. Which subscriptions on Twitch are follows on. Subscriptions on YouTube are follows on Twitch. So if you guys don't know that, it's like a different nomenclature. When you see a spike in Grafana, what's the first couple commands you run? Yeah, so Mint, I would go to this box, right? And I would do like an uptime. I would make sure it hadn't recently rebooted. I would see that maybe it is not high load here and is not high load here. And it's a bit higher load here, meaning that whatever has happened has already happened, but it wasn't enough to make a 15-minute load go high, but the 5-minute load is kind of high. So that means that whatever this happened, whatever this bump is, it has gone. It has completed and finished, and we're back to a more, like, let's say almost like a relaxed state. Like I see here in Grafana 2 that it's dropped. Yeah, and then what I would do is I would start to look for, because here's the thing, things that are gone forever. Like you can't, like a PS-EF, you know, this is a slice of what's going on right now. There's no way to see anything back without a tool. So like ATOP is a pretty good tool that'll give you like 10-minute slices, and the more granular your slices, the more you're going to you're going to have a very hard time finding transient things. But if transient things are happening, there's almost always a user behind them. So last more, and I can see all the people that have logged in. Looks like streamers logged in a lot. Probably even today, there's been a lot of streamers logging in, right? Streamers is the one you guys have to get into the system, right? So you guys get in with Streamer 1, and then you got a password to get in if you're part of the systems administration course. But yeah, that's what I would do. I would check to see if there's that kind of stuff, and then I just kind of look for normal health of my system. You know, is my system full of disk? I see nothing full here, so things seem to be fine there. Uptime told me that it hadn't rebooted recently, so that's fine. Last more told me things hadn't gotten in, people hadn't gotten into the system. So I have kind of like a good knowledge of you know, the system looks pretty stable right now. If there were specific things not working, I would go look at why they're not working. Like, why is my web not up? Why is my SSH behaving improperly? And I would go start to dig in on that, if that all kind of makes sense. And by the way, this P01 Jumpo 1 box, you guys see, this is my main box that I do everything out of. I can even connect like anywhere in the world back to this box. But if this box goes down and I'm in my home lab, I do have access to P01 Jumpo 1 right here. So I can get into the server. If this server got hosed, somebody took it down, right? I can still get into the server here through a console. This would be very similar to if I went back to the machine behind me and plugged in an actual console to it. Although it's just a virtual machine inside of an XCPNG server that sits behind me in my little half rack, right? Got a little half rack that sits directly behind me in that closet, right back there. You guys can't see it when I got the green screen up, but I didn't want to set the green screen up today. It's getting to 100 and it's already 112 in Phoenix right now. It's supposed to get to 113 today, so that's brutal. You just need to identify a process that's doing a bunch of write. So you can do, so a lot of times you can, let's see, you should be able to, what's the process for that? It's not mpstat. So mpstat will show you what process is doing things, right? Yeah, it's 112. It's supposed to be 113 today. Yeah, man, we're almost in October. It's wild. But mpstat can give you a nice little slice. iostat will give you, you know, what's going on with the disks, but it won't give you the actual CPU stuff. I might do something like this. Like if I thought something was doing something, I might do an mpstat dash or mpstat 1, and then I would just look for what processes. Actually, mpstat's not going to show me that. It's a pidstat. Sorry, pidstat will give me what processes are actually doing things against my system. So fail to ban. You're gonna see fail to ban quite a bit in here because that says people are logging in. Yeah. Phoenix is one of these places. It's just pretty brutal for people. And then I can see most of my things happening are my fail to ban server, my prom tail sending stuff off, and then I could just sit here and kind of keep an eye on it. And I can see how much of the CPU the system's using, and then I think I might be able to man PIDstat and look for device probably. So I can use PIDstat to see some of that stuff. So PIDstat -D1. And apparently, yeah, this will show me what process is writing and reading to my disks, right? So if, yeah, there you go. Yeah, sick in the mind. Yeah, I've never actually thought to do that before, but there you go. That's the thing. So read a man page, go find what it is. But then I could dig into that PID. So let's say this was the PID right here. This is whatever this PromTail Linux, right? PromTail is reading out some of my directories and sending them off to Loki. So then I cd to proc and that PID, and this is the whole stack right here. This is everything about that process, right? And that process is probably a pretty long-running process, but I can do a ps-eo and then look for else start cmd and PID, and then grep for that one as well. And then now I can see this is how it was started, and this is when it was started, January 8th at 10:41 at night, probably when I was working on something. And also that probably tells me that the system's been up for some time. Yeah, 274 days. I need to get this updated. And then anyways, back to this proc here, right? Directory I'm in. I can see the stack. I can see what it's calling and what processes are running. I can do, if there's any syscall right now, exactly right now, I would be able to see that. Yep. LSOF will tell me what's going on with that process as well. So I can look at that with the process ID. Whoops. I want the process ID right here. -P will tell you like what's he reading, what files are open with that kind of stuff. There's all that kind of stuff. Hey, Tomorrow, thanks for the resubscription. That kind of stuff keeps me motivated. Hopefully this stuff's useful to all you guys. But I can see what that's doing. I can see what ports on TCP it has open and where it's connecting to send data, right? There's all kinds of things that are kind of going on with this system. Also, it's kind of interesting that PromTail is talking across to InfluxDB as well. Interesting behavior. Anyways, so there's all kinds of stuff going on there. Yeah, IOStat is good. IOStat will show you kind of what's going on with the CPU and the disks. And then you can do all these same commands. One will show you every 1 second. Nothing's going on my system. But at exactly that slice, nothing's going on, nothing's going on, nothing's going on. And then, but if a system was under heavy load, you would see a lot more here. And then if there was an exact like slice that I can catch where it was doing something, I could stop. But you know, some of us will aggregate it and we'll watch every 5 seconds to see. Okay, give me what the last 5 seconds, but it's still a slice, but it's every 5 seconds that slice. So it's not an aggregation of those 5 seconds. It's a slice right at that time of what's using, you know, what in my system. So yeah, guys, there's a lot here. There's a lot to learn. And remember, a lot of these like hands-on things that I kind of make you do are different than what we're doing in the Linux Systems Administration course. In the course, we're kind of learning how to work on the teams, and we're talking about some of the different pieces and all that kind of stuff as well. So hopefully that stuff kind of makes sense. Also, we had a few more subscribers over on YouTube. Hopefully this stuff's useful to you guys too. All right, MPstat. MPstat's another one of these that we could just pull up over here. Right, clear this off. MPstat. It'll tell you kind of what's going on, and you can do it every 1 second. So we do all every 1 second, and this will just show us everything that's kind of going on across all. I believe in this case it should be both of the CPUs. Yeah. And in this case, oh, there's only one CPU. There's the all and there's the 0, so that's why it shows this. In this other system that I was using as an example, I think I had like 32. Oh man, sorry guys, I got a sneeze there. That one came on quick. But if you have multiple CPUs, you would see them right here. Okay. And then PIDstat. PIDstat's a good one. Clear this up. PIDstat 1 will show you what process ID is doing things in the system. This system's under a little more load, but I can see any of those PIDs. I can go, okay, what the heck is this PID doing right here? PS-EF grep-I4. I could just look for the PID if I want. Oops. Control-Shift-V if you're using this lab. Right, and there you go. There's the process ID, and in this case, we only see. It's actually funny. We only see the search for itself because whatever that is gone forever now. So let's go back here and look for PIDstat. Let's look for something that's a little more long running. Ah, there's our API server. So let's go look at this process ID of our API server. So ps-eo, I'm going to use eo, lstart, cmd, PID, grep-i for that. You don't need the -i, guys. I just use it so much. I just leave it. And there's my kube controller manager dash whatever options we had, right? And I see that it's 2002. So maybe I can go do an LSOF on the process and I can see where that thing's looking, and it's using user local bin kube controller manager. This is a slice in time of what it was doing, and it's watching iNotifies of probably some files that are out there. We could probably go find out what those file descriptors are, right? So these are file descriptors for some inode that it's looking at. Then it's also established some connections. Looks like it's established connections to probably itself. Actually, is that the other machine? Let's do an IP adder. That is our device. So this is connected to itself here. Yep. And that's the API port right there, 6443. So anyways, a lot of that stuff looks like it's all in order. And we would only dig in here if something was busted, right? Check back commands that were tied to a PID that ran that isn't running at the current time. Yeah, audit D is good for that as well. Yeah. Yep. So it depends too. And your company is going to have, whoever you work for, your operational team is going to have certain policies and not necessarily policies, but like practices that they do. And it's going to be, like in my case, my posture of my organization was such that I really didn't care. Like if a server was having problems, I would blow it away at first and just put a new server in place for them, because I could do that. Our system was mature enough that I could just destroy and give new systems. I built a lot of that out. I worked with a lot of different tools on that. Some of you guys that have been around and know who Michael Pess is, he was a big part of that as well. But we built a lot of that out so that we could just push a button and deploy a new system. We wanted it to be security compliant. We wanted it to do all the things that it was supposed to do and be on the network and backed up and all that stuff properly. And we wrote a lot of that stuff that did. Hey Tawny, how's it going? Tawny, we were I was talking about you yesterday. No, 2 days ago.
Boop.
Not directly about you, but I was talking about your book. Because we were... Oh, actually it was yesterday. Hold on, it was yesterday because I mentioned your book at the back of one of my... If I go to PowerPoint real quick, hold on. I'll show you. We were talking about this ransomware talk. Hold on. Ransomware talk all the way to the end, right? We did this yesterday if anybody wants to go see it. And one of the things that I mentioned was I said, yeah, this is the zero trust model. Because I was talking about going further to prevent ransomware. And one of the things that ransomware really hopes for, or any compromise inside of a system, is that they can then slide across, right? They want to do their... they're not even trying to always escalate privilege. They're trying to do side channel. Move to another system where they have a similar privilege. So with a zero trust model, you really limit that because everything internal is not trusted. So that's why I was bringing. Yep. Minimize the blast radius of breaches. That's exactly right. So, and guys, if you don't know, Tawny was one of the authors on that. So, all right. So we were doing Linux System Administration. There's IOStat. We did IOStat quite a bit, but you have IOStat-XZ And I want to show you this one. This one's fun for a certain reason. I'm going to just leave that up for a second. Does anybody know why this one's a good one? So I'm just going to show it again real quick. I want you guys to see the first one, and then I want you to see all the ones after that, right? So here's the first one, and then now watch all the ones after it. Some things aren't popping up at all. Watch. Especially with that block device. They're still coming every 1 second, right? But you're not seeing all those other ones. Remember all those other ones earlier? So that XZ is really nice because it only shows you the ones that are being used. Sometimes you're going to see VDA won't even be being used right now. It'll come up empty because for that one slice, nobody was using it. So, trims only active. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, that's exactly what it does. It trims down to only active. So you'll get it sometimes where you won't even have anything doing anything in that one little slice. So the reason that's super useful is, so I used to do, let me pull up an architecture. We're not talking about this right now, but earlier today, I brought up the luster. And if you guys have never seen this, I'll link it to you guys again. But we're not going to go deep into this. But somebody asked me a little bit about, like, we were talking about system stuff earlier. And I just want to show you guys one thing real quick. Right here. We were talking about how the clients connect, and then I was saying how you go and you check in over here, and then you talk directly to the devices. Well, these backend, these OSS, object storage servers, are going to object storage targets, and these are multi-path channel SAN, either fiber channel over Ethernet or typically some kind of really fast backend storage, right? But what will happen is the disk, as the OSS is looking, it'll be interacting with the disks on different slices. So right here, what would happen is you would be seeing like VDA1, let's just say, and then you would see all the reads, and then you would see VDA or VDB, and you would see all the reads, and then you would see VDC, and that would be happening across multiple devices, multiple different object storage servers as they were pulling the data down. But the reason that's important is like you could watch the I/O of the system and think about how your striping was set for some of your big data products and that kind of stuff. So there was like just a lot of valuable info that you could kind of pull out of a system by watching that. So that IOStat-XZ would show you that the system is reading heavily from one disk set, then reading heavily from another, and then reading heavily from another and another, and it would just show you like kind of good useful information, I think. Did I link that to you guys? Yeah, okay, there. It's interesting, when I put it in here, it shows it on the Twitch side, and then it shows it on the YouTube side as well. Yeah, Robedom, thanks for coming around. I'm going to hop off here in a little bit, probably go raid somebody over on the Twitch side, find somebody that's doing stuff. I think I know who we're going to raid if they're on. But yeah, this stuff's all hopefully useful to you guys. All right, SAR is a really good tool. SAR does not mean synthetic aperture radar in this case. It means for, I don't even know what it stands for in the systems world. But you can check how the interfaces are working, how much receive and send that they're taking in. You can do, there's a whole bunch of them. I actually have a lab. If we go just into Killer Coda, and then we go to my creator labs, and then here's all the labs that I've written, right? Or me and the group have written. If you go into Linux labs, one of the first ones where you're just looking around Linux, when you misconfigure Luster, you can call it Bluster. That's actually pretty funny. Yeah, thanks for coming by, Razushi. I know you've been here pretty much the whole time. I appreciate it. But in this one, when I get you to the networking portion, we do some of these SAR commands, and we look at how data is moving. If any of you guys want that one, that's one of my first labs. I think that might be the first lab I ever made here for Killer Coda. And Killer Coda is free. I can't emphasize enough how good of a tool I think this is for free. You could just get in and start just doing stuff, right? How is this system doing stuff? What's going on? What's going on with how it booted and the version and the memory and the kernel, right? What's going on? I can see all these different things there. So yeah, Mint, you can do PRs. People do PRs all the time against those. Yeah. If you guys need my GitHub, it's on Twitch. You could just do !GitHub. I don't do a lot with GitHub because, again, I'm not a professional coder, but you guys can go see stuff I've put out there. Yeah, it's just !GitHub. It'll tell you how to get on there. It's Het Tanis. It's super easy. Yeah. SAR gives you some other stuff. It gives you errors if you want to see errors. And errors are less interesting in a normal network setting, but they're very, very interesting in a storage area network. Like when we're doing back-end SAN type work, or we're doing high volume pushes to servers that are also getting saturated from other servers. And we can just see, are we getting a lot of errors and retransmit requests, and are we sending a lot of retransmit requests? There's a lot of information that you can read about a system on a line and then pull this information out. Again, this kind of stuff, I don't really want to be sitting up in the middle of the night watching. So I get all of this information and I go look at it over here, right? So let me show you guys. This is like, if we just look at like web server, this is coming out of Prometheus. You go into Prometheus and I just want to look at this one node that I care about in my home lab called, this is Hostbox. And I can come down here and I can just see, okay, is disk IO, that looks fine. I mean, it's reading. Disk, like I don't see anything that looks like it's hitting a spike. Here's my UDP status. Here's some contract, whatever kind of connections are there. But I can go and see a bunch of different information about my system right here in this little general web server information page that I have. How's it going, Practical NPC? It's actually funny. You're not raiding over here, are you? I was about to go look over there and raid on you. I was going to raid if you're on. Are you getting on right now, Practical? I hope you're getting on, because I was literally about to hit a button to go find somebody to raid. But if you are going to get on and stream, I'll probably go over there and hang out with you guys for a bit. Because I'm running in an hour and 30 minutes. We're doing our Linux Systems Administration down in Discord for people that want to do it. We have 171 people say they're coming, but we only had 50 last week. We had 90 the first week, 50 last week. I'm hoping it's more this week, but we'll see. We'll see. We have 171 people say that they're interested, so you guys are all welcome. It's free, right? It doesn't cost you nothing, so yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, sick in the mind. Like, you know, people have been pointing out, like, a lot of the stuff that we have, like, people would pay money for. And I think people would pay money for this, but my goal is to get people doing this professionally, right? Oh, nice. All right, yeah, Practical, it's good that you're around. I don't have any cool games. By the way, guys, if you don't follow Practical, I think my one guy... Hold on, I don't think I do a shout-out to him. If you guys don't follow Practical... He's got one of the coolest things going on, like just hanging out in a channel where, oh yeah, Practical. It's an event in Discord. Yeah, it's right here. You just go to our events. This is why I'm saying it's wild. I was talking about it on stream 2 weeks ago, right before it started, and I had 51 people signed up, and I was like, 51, that's pretty respectable. And like people just like started coming in from YouTube and everywhere, and like, hey, I want to do this. So we're up to 173 people. We had 90 people that first day. Then we had 50 last week, so it dropped off a little bit. But I'm hoping to beat 50 this week. I just, you know, for me, I like to keep track. But then it's like we just have a whole bunch of, there's threads. You got to do thread discussions. It feels like a college class probably for some of you. But people are still getting in stuff today on their stuff. You got to respond to somebody, right? You got to write your own, and then you got to respond to somebody else as well. So it's like it's like a real college thing. So, all right. But anyways, yeah, so streaming later. Yep, okay. Yeah. Practical, I'll be around. I might even, well, the wife will be around later, so I probably won't be streaming myself later. But tomorrow, so what we do is we never record the sessions because I want people to ask questions. I want people to talk and be candid. But then on Sunday mornings now, I'm recording. So tomorrow I will record Unit 3. So we'll go through, this is what it looks like. Linux Systems Administration by me. I told you guys it's fine if you know who I am. I don't care, right? I'm a real person. You can look me up on LinkedIn, right? Here's information about the class, and then last week, we'll talk about last week's topics, talk about this week's stuff and what you're doing this week, like what are you doing? Rizushi, you're welcome to hang out. I don't care if anybody pays anything. You guys, I don't want to pull out I'm a very big deal. I'm a college professor and a principal engineer, and I do fine, right? But if my wife heard me saying that, she'd be like, shut up and take their money. And I'm like, oh, because she wants to go to Hawaii with me, right? I'm just kidding. She gets to go to Hawaii with me anyways, but I get to go for free because work's paying for it. And then here's our topics of discussion for this week. We're going to do some technical stuff around disks, but then we're also going to look at like being on an operational team. Like what does it mean to go work, right, in this space? And then We'll talk about some of this stuff and look at systems. We'll do administrative tasks. I'll show you guys how tickets come in and how you respond to them. How do we work with management, and then logical volume management. This is a drawing we did just a little while ago, right? We drew this on stream, and then I gave you guys access to it if you wanted it. And then we'll talk about the lab tasks, and I'll probably walk you guys through the lab, but you guys that know how to get into the ProLUG lab, you guys have access to devices that have these blocks, and you can go and build logical volume management and MDADM raids. So, car cake analogies, yeah. And then there's questions and stuff if you guys want to get a hold of me. So anyways, that's been doing our if you guys don't know, PowerPoint can do really nice closed captioning. So PowerPoint's actually been doing my closed captioning this whole time. It's like it was PowerPoint all the time. It always was, right? What was this? Oh, this was our Lustre stuff. Lustre is awesome. It's still being used, but it's being used mostly in high performance compute environments that are very, very, very niche. I still build those out and I still maintain them. So I think there's some value there for you guys. Oh, what were we looking at? We were over here, right? Yeah. And then here's observability tools for the big four. I think that this is valuable for you to just go drop these in. So let's say I was just here on the system and I did a apt-y install sysstat again, because remember, it's not there by default. Our lab resets every hour. That's the only limitation of using Killer Coda, is that the lab resets every hour. You can pay and be dropped into these other labs that are 4 hours, but even then you can't really do like good engineering work on there. You could start to do some pretty cool projects on there, but you wouldn't be able to go much further than that. Also, thanks for the subscription, Baba Laminu, over on the YouTube side. Hopefully this stuff's useful to you. All right, so anyways, let's look at this. We've got that installed, and then we go, oh, we already have it installed. Apparently, well, maybe I did it already. mpstat-p all 1 will give us mpstat information, and it will give me against all the processors. And in this case, all and 0 are the same, but I would get an aggregation of all if I had multiple processors in a system, right? Then I can also do pidstat1, and I can see all of the processes that are currently going against the system at any given time, right? What's the big four? CPU, memory, disk, and network. Those are kind of like, they're kind of like the big things that we care about from an operations standpoint. If you give me 100 servers and you say, Scott, keep these servers running, these are the things that I would be kind of keeping track of. Yeah, it's the types of things that I care about. How much CPU utilization do we have? How much memory? How much disk? How much network? And if I don't hit the top of any of those, meaning I don't, watch, we go back here for a second. We don't go to high utilization, because remember, utilization is always between 0 and 100%, how utilized you are. And we don't get to saturation, so we're waiting. Then typically, yeah, it's the 4 food groups of operational performance. That's fair. Yeah. If your server is not starved, or take it this way, your server is like the big open field, and your processes are coming around and chomping down on all this stuff. And if your processes start getting starved for any one of these, like they're waiting for CPU too long, they're going to start to have problems, because they're going to hit timeout values and they're going to do all these things. And this is kind of like a way. Anybody here ever remember? This is a good example. Anybody here ever remember in Super Mario World? That's an old game, but I bet some of you still remember it. You would get this cape, and then he would wear the cape and he would go like this. And you guys remember he'd go like this down the screen? And if you just held back, he would go like this and he would just crash. And if you held forward, he would just dive bomb towards the ground. But if you got to like a nice little wave like this, you could actually get going pretty fast, and you could actually raise higher and higher in the levels. Does anybody remember that? It's an old Super Mario world, right? Right? And he held the cape like this, right? And there was probably, I bet there's little images of him doing it. And you would go like this, but if you just held back, you would drop. And if you just held forward, you would crash. But if you did it just at like this perfect wave, right? And that it's actually really funny. They weren't even trying to show you this, but they were basically teaching you about upper and lower control limits of an engineering system. Because upper and lower control limits say, if I can keep doing this and staying within my upper and lower control limits, I won't have problems in the output of my process. Well, similar to that, that's a generic engineering thing I just said. But over here in systems world, if I can keep my CPU and my memory, my disk and my network between upper and lower control limits, or what we call our upper and lower bounds of a normal process, I can, and again, that's general engineering stuff. I can keep my system running way better than if I'm letting it crash at the top or the bottom, right? Is this the SNES 5? This was before Flappy Bird ever existed, but yeah, this was, yeah. Didn't the Flappy Bird guy like rip that game out of all the app stores or something? Doesn't that like only exist as clones now? Somebody probably knows that, but all right. Anyways, that was me messing around. And where are we at here? Let's go back to our normal view of this system. Let's refresh that page so we get back to our... Oh, we are not at our normal view. Hold on. Let me see if I can change it. I'm going to change this back to my normal... I normally look at this at 90 days. No, not 90 days. I normally look at this... That's not 90 days. 30 days. I think I normally look at this at... Oh, no, I'm sorry. This is 7 days. This is a 7-day one. Yeah, this is what we normally see right here. Flappy Bird in the master boot record. I like it. That's funny. All right, so we can hit all these commands, but the point is this Linux System Administration stuff is up in the Discord if any of you guys want it. And then observability in a system. These are things that I think that you need to spend a little time and know about your system. Let me make this a little bigger for you guys for now. But these are kind of things that I think that you can go drop in and, you know, uname-r or uname-a will show you the kernel. Cat etc splat release will show you the release of the system, specifically around the vendor, and that'll tell you a lot about, if you've never been on a box before and you do cat etc splat release and you see the type of server it is, that's going to inform a lot of your, if you're going to ask Google questions or some AI, that's going to inform where you go look for networking information and where you go look for all kinds of different things, right? Free-m or cat-proc mem-info is going to tell you about how much memory you have, how much is free. I think free-m is way easier to look at. Proc memory info is just a dump of everything on the system, right? You can go look at how many processors you have. You can use nproc for that. You can look at physical disk information like ls block and block ID. We're going to be doing that a lot today in the lab. You can see all the processes that are running, ps-e, and then -- forest will show you. I don't even use that, but that'll show you the forest. So show you how things relate to their parents and where everything is hanging off of in the system, right? Kind of an important little one to know, right? Here's system D. System D kicked off a bunch of things, but all the things it kicked off should be their parents they are all no-hupt processes. So even if you kill system D, they're not going to go away. But a bunch of these are child processes to something that if you did blow away would probably reset all them as well. That's an interesting little slice. I don't really use that forest one. This one of my favorite ones, system D analyze blame, and you can see what took the longest time in your system coming up. So if you're doing, like a lot of times I'm very constrained with how long my servers can take to come up. Maybe I've told you guys before with the Noah project, we had to be from bare metal down to a running system in under an hour. Cost 2,600 nodes in 2 different locations, right? There's 2,600 nodes in each location, but they operate separately. So, and then is the process running? We can go look at the process, see how it came up and all that kind of stuff. Somebody wants a conditional loop. So here's a conditional loop. There you go. There's a conditional loop. So that tests for a condition of true, then it does uptime, then it sleeps for 1 second, then it says done, and then it comes back up and it tests for truth again, and true is always going to be true, so it's going to loop forever. Now this is a very bad conditional loop from a like a computer science standpoint, that's terrible. But from a sysadmin standpoint, that's awesome because that's an infinite loop, but I can break it at any time if I'm watching it. So let's say I wanted to do a date and then uptime, and then I wanted to, I don't know, like background some process. We could do like a DD if equals dev random, and then out file equals dev null, and then we'll pipe that into like a bzip -9, and then we'll go over here and we'll say block size equals 1024k, and count equals 1000. So 1 gig file of random zeros being pulled off the processor, broken, and then we'll throw that in a, we're gonna do this, put a little ampersand there, and we'll come over here and we'll do the sleep first. And then now what's gonna happen, oops, bzip's not found. Oh, hold on. Let's get, oops. They don't have bzip? gzip. Might already be there. Alright. Screw it. gzip 9. There we go. Anyway, so what this is going to do is every 1 second, it's going to it's going to set up another one of these processes that is just generating. It's not actually doing the compression of data. I don't know why gzip doesn't want to do that, but now the system is backed up behind a whole bunch of them, and they're just going to keep coming out for a while. But we could like break this system if we just kept doing that. We could also just fork a bunch of crap. But I was asked to do a for loop, or a conditional loop rather, which is a while, and then just test for the condition to be true over and over again. It's a whole bunch of them, so we're going to let them finish real quick. We could also go kill them all. Watch this. We can kill them all. ps-ef grep-i for DD, right? And they're probably almost all gone. Yeah, they're almost all done. We'll let them finish real quick. Leave off the DD. Yeah, I guess we could do that. Hold on. Yeah, just pull them in and send them right over. That might work. That might work. There we go. That's still going to be broken pipe. Bzip does that natively. Like, you just throw it like that. Because I actually have that in some of our labs where we do it. But either way, look, you'll still see the uptime going way higher. Because we're basically back-ending a bunch of processes that are taking longer than a second, and we're just keep making more of them. And we're just doing urandom, so we're forcing the system to pull random ones and zeros off of the CPU, which requires work time. And now that's just going to sit there. And then now we're just going to get a whole bunch of time where that keeps coming out. But, I was just doing that to mess around. But, so here, you've got more. When was the process started? How did the system come up? What system processes failed when they came up? I love systemctl list units -- state equals failed, and I can see everything that failed on my system on boot. Then I either need to remove them or fix them, because I want my systems to be clean every time they boot. I don't want variance, because variance causes crashes and just things that aren't great. All right, what kernel command lines are given? That's very important. Like I tell you guys, if I went to Mint, this is called Linux Systems Administration. This is an old one. Let me see if it's up there. It should be up there. You guys, I got shamed earlier this year for not having it up there. I told you guys it always was, but then I never had put it up there. And it is in here. Hold on. It even says, because you guys are making me stay honest. It's right here. It was on May 18th of this year in presentations. Yeah, so this is in there, Linux Systems Administration right here. And I put it up there so I wasn't a liar, because I kept telling you guys, oh, it's up in the Discord somewhere, and it wasn't. But also, guys, we have like the Socratic method for Ansible, Socratic method for Linux, where you can ask yourself questions and answer them. Then I have notes in here about how the Socratic method Linux works, so you can go in there and you can ask yourself questions like, do I know how to see all the CPUs? Do I know how to see the speed in megahertz? And then there's all the commands right there. So you could just open this up, which there's a lot of them, and you could just take all these and go dump them in over, you just open that window up, go into this command shell and just see, like we have, I think this is like, this is like 400 and something lines total of, can you ping the default gateway? Can you determine the default route? Can you show that the interface is connected physically and that it's running, right? Like, can I verify that this, where's he at? If I could verify that this system right here that we're on has, so IP adder, I see that he's got this ENP1SO, and I do an ETH tool, ENP1S0, and I see that the link is detected, yes. So to the operating system, I see a connected link because I don't have a console to go into on this box because this is a virtual machine given to me by Killer Coda, right? So it's all that stuff there. All right. So anyways, yeah, that's just in Discord there for people that want it. Linux System Administration is right. I don't know, wherever I found it. 518 on presentations. Also, for those of you that are new, we've got the, beginner start here. There's all our old Linux stuff. Linux beginner start there. There's a whole bunch of certs that you guys can get for free. And we just updated this one because this has changed from the old API Academy. And then there's the playlist for our Linux Systems Administration course. We're only on week 3 starting today. So it's 3 of 16 starting today. And those new projects and things for you guys to work on are up right now. So you guys could start thinking through those even before we go. We're about an hour out. So in a little over an hour, we're going to do that stuff. Someone configured to inherit Discord if I slip on a banana. No, I'll probably just send it to Fisherman Guy Bro and make him in charge of it. Oh, I like that thing stopped. I did not do that myself, but I like that stopped so that there's no record of me saying it besides voice. Like if it was here, it would feel a little more. So I said Fisherman Guy Bro would get the Discord if I was gone. He's probably the most active person besides me. And he'd probably be the most interested in it because he does stream. So, all right, observability, and then we get into some of my other stuff. So I'll leave this up, and if some of you guys want to talk about it on the next stream, let me know. But I've got my testing methodology, my benchmarking methodology, practical application for benchmarking, how I troubleshoot things, and what troubleshooting looks like to me, and then failure modes, and then don't talk about your feelings and. That's an anti-methodology, that kind of stuff. All right, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go find somebody to raid. Let's go to our little intermission. Let's go to our little end of stream thing here. And then let's go find somebody to raid on the Twitch side, on the YouTube side. Unfortunately, I got nothing for you guys. But I'll go find somebody to raid on the Twitch side of things. Let's see, who am I following that we can go raid right now? We'll go raid, we'll raid over to the Alt F4 stream. We'll see what they're doing. We'll go raid these guys. So start the raid up, and I will see some of you guys later. In about an hour, I'll see some of you guys. So Razushi's back. Good. Get some rest. We're going to it in about an hour. All right. Take care, guys.